we'll do a roll call, Debbie.
Hold on a second, let me get this thing going. Joel.
Here.
Dave.
Here.
Carolyn.
Here.
Gary.
Here.
Kevin.
Here.
Okay, we have a visitor tonight to give us a presentation from Solaris. Justin Huebner. Justin, you want to come up to the podium there and speak to us?
Yeah, we're actually speaking about a possible broadband grant for the town of McMillan, partnering with Solaris. So the State Public Service Commission has $7.5 million available for building out of broadband to underserved areas in rural parts of Wisconsin. And so we had looked at the area basically coming up here northeast of Marshfield, which the vast majority, everything from McMillan, the county road line above, and the large amount of housing is in McMillan Township from that perspective. So in order to file for that application, it actually has to be done by January 25th. There will be successive rounds of this. The PSC has done this each year, but in the past it's been $1 million or $1.5 million available. This round there's $7.5 million available. And so what we're looking to do is basically bring fiber to the home to all those houses, which would allow us to provide up to 1,000 megabits per second worth of speed to any residential customer. Our base pricing is 70 megabits from that side, but it would be wired and actually fiber optic directly to the home, not to the cabinet, actually to the home on that side. So, and in that situation, there's about 200 locations. Again, the vast majority are town of McMillan. About 60% of those have less than 6 megs available to them today from a wired perspective. So, other subscribers are getting it from wireless. Frontiers in the area as well. And so what we really need from the town of McMillan to help us succeed with the grant project would be some type of support. And so what's worked the best in the past is to do a public-private partnership. So obviously Solaris, we would be the ones doing the build of the facilities. We put the grant project together. But we're looking for from the township would be the support to say that in kind, we would support through right-of-way, help get the word out, basically. And so the other thing I attached was a resolution and a possible public-private partnership document. The only tough thing is with the holidays here, we've slid into January, and this is your only board meeting between now and January 25th. And so the other things we've done to support this is we've canvassed the entire neighborhood, so we've done door hangers there. We've gotten some response from residential customers saying that, hey, I only have wireless now, or I have caps, or I'm using my cell phone for this type of situation. So we feel it's a strong project, but again, one of the things that they score these projects based on is that partnership between the community as well as the provider in that situation. So there is no monetary amount we're looking for from the township. It's mainly just an in-kind contribution saying, hey, we'll help work with Solaris, again, to be able to do the project and look at right-of-ways. If there's an area of township land that we may have to bury any fiber in, it's really just saying, hey, can we work together on this to help bring this to an area that's underserved today. And I've got some bigger maps. You may kind of wonder why we ran the way we ran. This is the state's broadband map from the Public Service Commission. So basically the gray areas are the areas that are considered underserved. And so in that situation, this is where T's coming up to 97 there. So we actually kind of follow our path to get as much of the build out area that we would do in that underserved area, kind of getting all the way up it'd be just east of here basically. And so that's the area that we picked up. And then on your maps, it kind of shows the blue is the highlight of where we would run the fiber. We would actually do drops to any home that would take our service. That's included in our pricing. There isn't an installation charge for that. And then there's a map that kind of shows the house count based on residential versus business from that perspective. Like I said, the tough ask is, I know this is the first time we've brought it to you. In theory, in order to get the township to possibly move forward on that actual partnership agreement, you'd probably have to go so far as to do a resolution to allow one of the board members to be able to eventually sign that. Now, with that being said, you can tweak the resolution, because I'm guessing you probably review your minutes next board meeting and approve them at that point. And then obviously the agreement we would work towards. We're doing another one of these in town of Plover, where we're going across to where town of Plover is, right on kind of 39, just south of 54. In that situation, we were able to present right before Christmas. We came back, they had their next town board meeting last week. We went ahead and got the resolution done last week, and then this Thursday we'll be doing the signing. Wednesday night we're going to do a community night just to answer questions for anyone that got the door hangers at the Belvedere Supper Club, just to do question and answers. And then at Plover, we have a couple of state representatives that are even going to be attending in that situation. So the goal is just to try and drum up the support to make that grant application look like one that the PSC would like to actually select from that perspective.
So this is not the whole township?
It isn't the whole township on this go, and the main reason is because we couldn't do that all that wouldn't all be applicable from a grant application perspective. So any area, the PSC has two tests. One, if it's under 6 meg served by a wireline provider, that's kind of like a double star. Number two is if it's under 25 meg served by a wireline provider, that still counts as underserved because the federal government's definition of broadband is 25 megs by 3 megs. So in that situation, when we looked to see where the Public Service Commission was highlighting the underserved areas, as we get further west, like coming over here, it then says that it's served by Frontier at speeds at that level, so it's not officially considered underserved from that side, which makes the grant harder. Now, for us, as Solaris, we already have facilities in Marshfield. We serve a lot of businesses in Marshfield. This is the first time we'll be serving residential customers in the area. But with that, it would give us a position to be able to continue to go around further to the west from that side. This is just the part that we could fit into the grant application.
Anybody have any questions on this?
So this area right here with the fire department and the township, we're served here, so we're not part of the grant?
Officially right now you are. Now that being said, any area that's served, so when they do this broadband map, it's done at the census block level. So if one customer is claimed to be served by a provider in that census blocks in rural areas are big, so it lights up the whole census block in that situation. So if there's customers that aren't served, or for instance, one of the things we discussed is at least getting all the way over here to this area of the town. If we can get letters of support saying, hey, I've tried to get service of a level greater than 25 megs, I don't have that availability, that allows us to go beyond the Public Service Commission's map and say, hey, we've got a letter documenting that this area is underserved. We've extended that. We would ideally want to put more of it in the grant, because basically we're looking at successful grant projects have been kind of a 50-50, so a matching dollar, or what we'll probably do is something more like a 60-40. We'll supply 60% of the cost and ask for the state to supply 40% of the cost. So if there was other areas that would make sense and that we could basically prove that the map was incorrect, that would actually be beneficial to make a bigger grant project that we could do right out of the gate, instead of having to do it 100% with our funds afterwards.
Because the actual township here is underserved.
Okay. Well, and that we had talked about that a little bit as far
Very
as.
much so.
I just wanted to make sure. And I know that there's fiber optic laying on the other side of the road here, but I've made a couple of phone calls and asked this, if there's no intentions of making that available to anybody along the road at this time. So, it may be there, but.
For the audience, I don't know how many people have these maps.
Yeah, I didn't hand them out to.
It includes from McMillan north to Birch.
Yeah.
And from Day Road to Stott, those 4 square miles. And then it includes a little bit north, including Cherry Street, and a few going down 97 and a few going up Stott. It kind of ends at Carolyn's place.
I didn't know that at the time, but
Sort of self.
Good job.
You have a question?
I would say I have Frontier for my fiber optic. And I'm just across the road.
so
So this saying that we can't have it, I have it.
How fast is it?
I don't know, does everything I need. And I'm not on it all the time. I'm not using it as business, but yeah. As soon as that went in, they asked me if I wanted, if I had Country Wireless. So I switched. So this thinking that it's, you know, that we do have it here.
Well, when did you get connected to it?
Oh, heavens, way last fall?
Because my neighbor he had gotten Frontier, and I tried to get it, they told me I could get it. And I ordered all the stuff a couple of years ago, and it was too slow. And they said I was too far away. Well, he was right next to me, and he got it, I think he had a 2-year contract. Well, it ran out this year, and he got rid of it, and he went to Country Wireless. He said it's so slow, when he did a speed test, he was under 1.
and one thing on that, so there's 2 levels of running fiber optic, which might kind of explain this. So I think what Frontier did is they ran fiber optics to the actual cabinet, so those physical, pads that you see sticking out of the ground. Then they'll still use the copper facilities from there out. In our situation, we would actually run fiber optic to the homes, to the actual, side or inside of the house. And in that situation, top speeds for the technology with the copper is, you can get upwards of 20 to 50 megs max. With our fiber optic cable in that situation, our base speed is 70 megs for residential, and then it goes up to 1,000 megabits per second. Our base speed for 70 megs is $65 unlimited, so there is no cap. Some of the wireless providers, you can only use a certain amount from that perspective. So I think that may line up with what you're saying, where they did install fiber, but they installed fiber to the cabinet, not fiber to the actual premise of the individual's home. So then
We have fiber going in front of our house. We've had
Yes.
it there for several years.
And so fiber is almost kind of like an interstate in the sense that if you don't build it with on and off ramps, you can't, seeing it doesn't help you a lot. Whereas in this situation, if you do fiber to the home, we actually engineer it so that there is kind of those drops or on and off ramps to every single home from that side. And there isn't a maxed speed from that. That's the most we sell today, but we have several businesses that are on 10 times that speed in other areas.
Well, we had new fiber optics supposedly put in, well, I know it's along Elm here, and then over when County Trunk E was reconstructed.
Yep.
And so I keep calling Frontier to see when it is gonna be available to the homes along there. And their comment is that, well, we're not ready to sell it yet. So I don't know how you got it, Dorothy, but
I stopped and asked them one day, and the next day I ran into Rachel in this room, and she says, we'll give you a call, and they gave me a call. I had no problem.
So, well, anyway, now the other thing was, yes,
I had a question.
Yep.
I'm currently on satellite because nothing's been run down Burr Street, where we live. How would this compare in speed with the satellite? And what is your current monthly cost on your service?
Yeah, so satellite, a lot of times you can get upwards of 50 megs typically. The biggest issue with satellite is usually there's a cap for how much you can use during the course of the month.
Yeah.
So what we'll hear from customers is that it's great for the first 2 weeks of the month, but then when I hit my cap, it slows way down. A lot of them have switched to unlimited, but unlimited then gets capped once you get through, and then you get slower speeds. So in that situation, the two key differences would be that's probably their quickest speed at 50 megs. Our slowest is 70 on fiber, so which is just a little bit bigger. And then the other thing is there is no caps for our speed, so it wouldn't change. It wouldn't change when people come home from dinner and everyone's on the internet, and sometimes that makes some of the wireless get slower as well. This would be a dedicated fiber to each home, and that base cost for 70 megs is $64.99 is what our residential cost is. And then we would sell phone and TV with it as well. Phone, if you add it on to an internet package, is $10, and then our video, we have different packages available with that as well.
I see, but now you're saying that we need to pass this resolution before the 25th, and we're not gonna have another town board meeting until past that date.
Yeah.
So,
Well, so in theory, I think the way you could try and work through that, and I realize this is the first time I've ever talked to you, so yeah, I'm going from, hi, my name is Justin, to, can you pass a board resolution? I think, in theory, if you could get comfortable with the resolution to say that you're, considering to adopt the actual agreements, then we could still use the next couple weeks to work through the agreements. Again, the final resolution would be read in your next minutes, so you could tweak that wording to line up with the agreements. But I think you'd have to empower one of the board members to be able to actually sign that agreement and be able to take at least that far of the action. Now, if it's still something that you want to be supportive of and we can't get to that level, like for instance, Town of Clover did the actual partnership. Town of Grants is right next to them. They have a handful of customers that will be served by the project we're doing there. They're just doing a letter of support. So that would be kind of the next step down, is to say, hey, we haven't been able to meet on this yet, but we consider it to be something that's in the best interest of the municipality. So we're supporting Solaris in this effort, and we'll be considering the public-private partnership in the future. That has been successful in past grants as well. We work with a consulting firm that's done 10 or 11 of these over the years, and so that it's kind of just a matter of saying, how do you put it together to check the right boxes when the Public Service Commission reviews it?
Well, the Public Service Commission is one thing, but the problem is that you didn't get on our agenda, so we technically can't even kind of prove anything in regards to this tonight. That would have to get in our next meeting.
Which would be after.
After the 25th. Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately,
Yeah, unless you want to pay for a special meeting.
well, if we would have enough time, there is going to be a plan commission meeting. We could make it a joint plan meeting.
That's after the 25th too,
No, it's the 22nd.
That's 22nd.
So it would be a consideration, but if we could, I mean, we obviously need to
digest
this and find out about people in the community, what their feelings are about this. If we could certainly say that we would possibly be interested in doing this, because everybody complains about the speed we have out here. Maybe there's some way.
You mean lack of it?
Yeah, yes, exactly. I don't know.
Well, you got a pretty good crowd out here tonight, ask them. Your residents.
Well, we could also attend that meeting on the 10th.
Yes, that would be good, at the Belvedere.
That would be good feedback for us. So maybe we can.
It's Wednesday.
Maybe we can decide from that if we should do a joint meeting to.
On the 22nd.
Yeah. I really should do that.
How many here would be interested in knowing more about this?
How many here are gonna go to the meeting in 2 days?
Well, they may not even know about it. I plan
He
to
just
go.
announced it, he just announced it.
What meeting is this?
On the 10th, Wednesday night at Belvedere. They're having a meeting.
Oh, the Solaris.
Yep.
6 to 8.
I don't know, I'm gonna go so I know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
I probably would attend.
Mhm.
And again, we apologize. Unfortunately, at PSC, they launched this, it was basically a 90-day window to work through the whole process. So we finished up our engineering right before the holidays, and it reached out just before the holidays, but then the holidays didn't fall at a great time for a 90-day window where it's kind of right smack dab in the middle. So I apologize, we couldn't get in front of you a meeting a month ago.
That's about the only thing we can try to do for you.
Yep. Nope, that's understandable.
Do you have a complaints card or something?
Yeah, I can grab you that, yep.
So what time is that meeting?
6 o'clock Wednesday, so it's kind of like an open house. We'll have people available, we'll have the maps up and information, and then you can just come at any time between 6 and 8. It's not from 6 to 8, we're not going to talk to you for 2 hours, but to kind of just be able to present and answer any questions that anyone has, so.
When
Yep.
did you put out these door hangers?
We did it, it would have been the week, kind of the week right after Christmas and the week right after New Year's. So we hit the 200 homes that are on the route.
You
But
said it's on Birch.
it is, and I'm trying to think if it's all of,
Did you get?
No,
It's
right
Birch.
by Allison did.
You
Birch, Birch between Stott and Dave
yes,
is on the
No,
map.
yep,
I never got one.
no.
yeah.
You guys got one? Okay.
And I would assume it covered both sides of Birch, not just one
Yes.
side of the.
No, it would be both. Yep, exactly. Well, thank you for your time very much, and
Okay,
again,
thank you. Well, you leave your info so we can
Yep.
get back to you. Did everybody get one of these that wanted one?
Can I leave some here?
yeah, I can leave the extra maps behind too. If you just sit, you got it. Thank you.
Very good. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to comments from the audience. Anyone have comments from the audience? Okay. Approval of minutes, December 21st, 2017, town board minutes.
Make a motion that we approve the minutes as presented.
I'll second that.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve the town board meeting minutes, December 21st, 2017. Is there any discussion?
Yes, there was a mistake on the first one I gave you, and Joe, doing Gary's job, found it, so. I had the date wrong on the approval of the minutes on the last one.
Okay. So it was the 21st.
No, it was actually the 11th.
Okay, so then I'm looking at the wrong one.
Yeah, the approval of minutes should read town board meeting of
Yep.
December 11th,
11.
2017.
So you amended that ahead of time.
Yep,
Okay. All right.
We had a special meeting on the 21st.
that was the.
That's what we're approving
Yeah.
now.
We're approving those minutes, but when we had that meeting, we approved the December 11th.
11, yeah. Oh, and you had that.
Got it? Okay. All right.
I'm only a spell checker.
And the numbers guy.
Okay, okay. All right. let's go.
Joe,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Carolyn,
Aye.
Gary,
I,
Kevin.
Okay, we'll go to reports. Plan Commission, Deb Davis. We do have, we have had a request, and so the Plan Commission will be meeting on the 22nd.
6.
At 6. So, and then I also got something, I think this is more that's from the, this is a conditional approval, which expires, it's a plan approval that expires 11/30/2019. The site is the Kingdom Hall of Jehovah's Witnesses are going to be starting, it looks like their plan is being presented on M248 Main Street. So, this is just a notification that this is coming up. Fire Department, Rod.
Since our last official town board meeting, not the one on the 21st of December, but the one on the 11th, we've had one EMS call. We've had 3 motor vehicle accidents. The department also has 2 members that have completed their 1-year probation. That would be Kyle Kilty and Michaela Garrison. They're full members now. They're off of probation. The training for the upcoming month will be going to the Marshfield Fire Station, and we will be reviewing and familiarizing ourselves with the equipment and stuff that are carried on the ambulances. And also Steve Backus, the deputy chief in charge of EMS, will be giving us a small presentation. The department at our last meeting has also formed a Rescue 3 committee. The committee discussed the utilization needs of Rescue 3 and also met and researched through possible replacements of that vehicle for current 3. I'll get into that more in depth when we get down to old business on the agenda. The EMS group will start their refreshers this week at the fire station. We'll also be hosting Stratford and other members of the community who need their EMT or EMR refresher at that time. That's through Mid-State, so if there's anybody yet, I believe tomorrow night it starts. So the other thing that we did at the last meeting was the Fall Festival. The group had decided that we are going to hold a Fall Festival this upcoming year. Same date, same times. And also they've picked the band for 2018. The band is Jerry Schmidt's band.
Okay.
It is a good band, by the way. I watched them at the fair this last year.
Good, I hope so.
Very good.
Okay, thank you. The library of Ruth said she had no report for this meeting. We'll go on to the supervisors.
If I could go back on one thing,
Yeah.
just to, that I did not have printed down. I have talked with Bill Griesbach of Stratford on the F&G grant, for the FEMA grant, for the breathers that we're going to be going for. We're going to be working with 2 of their individuals, and then 2 of our individuals will be going back and forth. I do not know the exact timeframes of when that grant's going to close, but I may be emailing you, the board, information on that, on numbers and stuff, because we will be eligible, or we will be responsible for 10% of that. And at this time, just because we're filling it out doesn't mean that we're going to be obligated to it. I mean, I would like a commitment, but we're not looking for that. And if we're going to be meeting on the 22nd, you said you're going to be? Possibly?
Possibly.
At that time, maybe we can have some more firm numbers and stuff for the board.
Okay.
Because I know you're requesting.
It'll be the plan commission meeting, but we can have the joint
Correct. If it's necessary. I don't, like I said, I don't know what the closing date is on that. But the understanding of that is we do have to start filling it up, make sure it's board. We do have to start filling it out online. It just, we will not be hitting the submit until I have the okay from the board. Just let's.
The other thing is now Kim is working on a list of the grants, correct?
Correct.
To present to us?
Correct.
And will that be ready by next month, meeting?
Yes.
Okay.
She just handed me the other day, so I wanted to get some more information from, because some of them, like our assistant chief does one of the grants, and so I got several people that fill out grants. And if they could have numbers and stuff for me, that's what I was gonna try to do,
Okay,
give you more information.
okay, good, thank you. Okay, the supervisor reports. I have a report. I did get in touch with, I was told that we have a new DOT representative that to be working with us. The other man that I worked with for 2 to 3 years has now moved on to a new job. And so I wrote to this gentleman, and his response to me was, "Thank you for reaching out to me with your concerns. We finished our study last week, are in the process of discussing alternatives. Highway 97 has a scheduled resurfacing project in 2022. And our intention is to include these alternatives within this project. That being said, we are required to follow our improvement project process. We tentatively have a meeting to finalize our alternatives through our scoping process at the end of April. I will be able to follow up with you in early May to discuss these alternatives in more detail. In the meantime, we made a few minor changes to the intersection with Galvin and County AAA this summer by restricting the right turn lanes with pavement marking that is now enforceable. Prior to this, it was legal to use these right turn lanes for passing maneuvers. We will continue to actively monitor this corridor for crashes and crash trends. Should you have any questions, please let me know." So I responded to him, "Thank you for your response. The minor changes have caused more of a problem than help. Some people observe the signs, but most do not. We have very little patrol here. We just had another bad accident. Guess it is going to take a fatality for anyone to listen to us. I have been in contact for 2 to 3 years, voicing our concerns with the state. Needless to say, I am very disappointed in your response. It might be more helpful for you to come and speak to me specifically before final decisions are made on the alternatives." His response: "We would be happy to meet with you to discuss your concerns and get your input on this situation and our study." So I now have a meeting set up the 24th of this month. So hopefully we'll at least know where we stand with what they might plan, but we know that obviously it's not going to happen until 2022, which is a long ways away. So, other than that, that's all I have. Dave, you have anything on the highway?
I guess the only thing I have to report is that routine maintenance, snow plowing, salting, and sanding have been accomplished through the last month since we last met. We got a letter from the Office of the Highway Commissioner, specifically Jim Griesbach. The Stott Avenue Bridge has been downgraded from a 20-ton posting, which currently down to 15. So Marathon County Highway, as the maintaining agency, is required to erect or modify the load posting signs as soon as possible, but no later than March 31st, 2018. For those bridges that no longer need posting, will no longer be required to do annual inspections and can go back into the annual cycle. So what we're saying is the Stott Avenue Bridge down here has been downgraded. It didn't pass the inspection, so it's going from 20 ton to 15. And they have till 31st of March to post that. That's all I have.
Joe?
All I have on the new addressing of our town is that the contractor has been let. It's Lang Enterprises Incorporated from Oconomowoc. They're going to be beginning the process of installing new signage in April, to be completed into October. Carolyn informed me that they told her that we are the 30th township on the list, so we're probably looking at getting ours done sometime late summer, early fall, somewhere in that time frame. I guess and I understand from this, I've been trying to get an answer from county, and they haven't answered me, but this letter that Carolyn gave me leads me to believe that there was some question about if all of the road signs are gonna be changed. And apparently they aren't going to be, only the ones that have street names changing. So intersections like Stott, Galvin, and Drake on C, those signs will stay the same as they are, I expect. And I guess that's about all.
So somewhere through the process by October, when all the new road signs are up, we should expect all the fire number signs to be completed by October too.
Yeah, that's the whole process is gonna happen. They're doing it on a township basis, starting, I guess they're starting on the east end of the county and working their way west. That's why we're number 30.
Do they know, or how are the residents gonna be informed on what their new numbers are gonna be?
They didn't mention anything.
I don't know that yet, they haven't told me that. Now, in this, he talked about that, and I'll have to get to that meeting, excuse me. There's gonna be some information coming out at the town association meeting, and that's this month, right? Or is it
I
next
don't
month?
know, I
Next
haven't
month.
heard when the next one is.
Remember when the next one is.
I wasn't at the last.
I'll make sure I get to that and find
Oh,
out,
look at me, why?
see if I can find that out. Just in
Everybody
case,
is.
just in
Yeah,
case
I don't
anybody
know.
The
knows.
clerk is supposed to know what we don't know.
Well, that's a given, but still.
We haven't been notified when it is yet.
I haven't gotten anything yet, so.
And it's, you know, as far as the townspeople are concerned, you're gonna get a number, and then as soon as you get that number, whether we get it before they start installing them, or when you, if the first you know is when you see the sign on your lawn, might be the case. What the county has said, well, they're working with the post office, and there's gonna be at least a year, maybe a year and a half, and I would expect that would be from October, when they're done with the project, that any mail that's getting sent to you, if it's sent to your M address or the 6-digit address, it'll all get cross-referenced and come to the right place, hopefully. They're working very hard to try to make this as smooth flowing as they possibly can.
I did, when speaking with the man he called me today, I had asked him, I have gotten a couple of inquiries as to whether people are going to be able to keep the sign if they choose, if they'd like to have their sign for their street or whatever. And he said, if you want the sign, you need to put a piece of duct tape around it, and any sign that has a piece of duct tape around it, they'll take it out of the ground, put it on the ground, and put the new one in. So then you can go after that one. So if anybody wants that new sign. And also, we will have, we have to provide a place for them to stockpile all of the old
Posts and signs.
posts and signs, and he said that will be ours to get reimbursed for
So they're
scrap.
gonna replace all the posts too?
Those that are changing are gonna be new posts. And so, but we then will be able
Yeah.
to bring the old ones, leave them here.
That was a topic that came up in all the discussions we had last year, and I never did hear a final on, and it might be that, if the post is the right color and it's the right height and it's on the right side of the driveway, they might just change the sign. I can't say for sure, but that might happen. I don't know why they would put a new post in if the post meets the
Right.
requirements, but, if they have to take it out of the ground for any reason, then I'm sure they can remove it.
But we can then have the old posts and we can reuse them if need be.
Reuse them,
Or we can
scrap
get them
them.
for scrap, so.
And the one thing, I don't know if everybody in the audience has heard that, I know the board has, that as of right now, we're, the county, and we are expecting that the county is funding this whole project. As far as that, there should be no funding required from our township to do this.
Just a headache,
Just been my thought.
just a headache. Yeah. Okay.
Pardon?
What, I thought you had your hand up. Just-
Well, just, you know, what Becky said at the original meeting was we were not gonna be able to keep the signs.
Well, that's what he said today, this
Now,
guy.
What Carolyn is saying is that's coming from the guy that's gonna be taking the signs out of the ground. That's the contractor that's telling us
So, I mean, this is
that. And
kind
I, you know,
of between him and the county.
well, yeah, and the county, they would have no use for the signs, so I don't know why they would want. Unless they
Same with
want,
what we're gonna do, scrap them,
well, yeah, right,
yeah. You know.
but they'd have to haul them in. if
And
they
then
wanna do it.
she had also said that, you know, that there would be a letter coming out from the county, that's what she told us at the original meetings, what your new address is gonna be, so. We're still hoping they hold.
One thing that this guy did in this letter is he said, he gave me some, through Carolyn, because he was talking to Carolyn, he said, if, please let me know if there is a preference as to whom we contact first. In addition to this, he said normally they'd contact the chairman and or the clerk, and that's been the case in the past. And I had left with Becky and with Preston, I gave them all the contact information I had that I could possibly give them. And I don't think they have ever contacted me except when I contact them and they respond to me. So hopefully I'm gonna get a hold of this guy and hopefully I'll be able to get a little more straight feedback a little faster than waiting for the county to come through it.
You won't get anything from Preston, you can trust me on that.
And he's, okay.
Okay, very good, thank you. Jerry, you have anything?
Oh, nothing on the hall. Gotta wait till spring then unless something else needs fixing in between. And as far as the newsletter, I'm thinking probably by our March meeting or somewhere in there, so.
That's your deadline for stuff in, or?
Yeah, because we gotta get it out, you know, before
National.
voting, before the elections.
Okay. Kevin?
Nothing new on this. Talked to Dave prior to that, do we get gas bills specifically for the individual buildings, right?
Fire department from garage is the way it's split up
Then this goes on
with the garage.
Okay. I just wanted to see comparison with the new furnace and the added insulation. I know it was really cold the last month. We can't wait to see what that is, but just throw it.
We don't really broke down that much.
They don't have a separate meter for this building and that building?
They only sent me one bill. That's all I've gotten so far. You know, I got one for, and it says garage on it, or the fire department, so,
Maybe this is free to heat.
pardon,
Maybe this is free to heat.
you never know.
Poor timing on their part. The cold air. Okay, all right, let's move to the clerk approval of checks.
Okay, you got checks number 15,338 through 15,389 with electronic filing of 1733 through 1738 in the amount of $65,381.80. And then I also have the settlements, which I just got, and I do not have the checks wrote out for them yet, but I'll tell you what they are. And I'll need permission to send these out. For the county, it's $510,978.73. For Spencer School, it's $28,735.40. Stratford School District is $91,041.45. Marshfield School District is $939,797.59. Midstate Technical College is $88,276.13. And North Central Technical College is $15,517.11. So those will be added also.
What was Marathon County again? The top, first one, please.
Marathon County, $510,978.73.
I'll make a motion that we approve checks number 15,338 through 15,389, and electronic transfers 1733 through 1738 to the amount of $65,381.80, and also approve the settlement amounts that Deb read to us for the Marathon County, Spencer School, Stratford School, Midstate Technical, and North Central Technical.
And Marshall,
And Northfield.
Are those checks or are those electronic transfers?
those be checks. Those will have, the checks will have to be written out. Donna just got them done tonight.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, the motion has been made and seconded to approve checks 15,338 through 15,389, electronic transfers 17,33 through 38, plus the county settlement, or the settlements, tax settlements, as per Deb. Is there any discussion?
So the check should actually go through 15,395.
Oh, there's my checks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Six
checks.
more.
Yeah, so it'll be 6 more checks.
Through 95.
Check 15,343.
Not on there.
What?
15,343 is missing.
Where'd it go?
I don't know.
Yes.
That's why we're asking.
That was,
Your finger went on break.
I have no idea. What's the 343? I have no idea offhand. I'll have to look. It should be in the office, the stub on it.
Is that gonna be part of the same quantity, or is that gonna add to the quantity?
It's December 22nd to January 8th, so it'll be part of the same quantity. It just isn't in here for whatever reason.
Then I had
Do
a
a quick
question on.
scan.
Okay, wait a minute. What are we gonna do here?
26 or the 27th?
We have a motion.
Let's go get it now. So you know what it is.
I think I know which one it is. I think it is for $150 to Christmas presents. That's what it was.
Or year-end stuff.
Yep. That was all
And we
part of
approved
that.
those at the 20,
And those were approved
That
at
was
the last meeting.
pre-approved, yes.
right?
But it's for $150, because that one isn't on here, so you have to add 150 on the bottom here.
Plus the extra 6.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, because that one isn't in there, and that would have been right at that time frame.
So I'll amend that motion to, if I got this added up right, then adding $150, $65,531.80.
You can still need to amend the other 6 checks yet.
Well, we don't have to amend them, we haven't written them out yet. We just need permission to write them out. We just gotta
Yeah,
straighten them out.
it's not an amendment, it's just, it's an amendment to the whole thing. the whole list, here, just to add those.
Well, the list is, we already put that check is already in the list, because it's in between those first and last numbers, it's just,
Mhm.
the quantity wasn't in there, so
Right,
I added the quantity in there to.
so we added
the right
150
quantity.
onto the 65,531. This, like I said, Donna just got these done today because we just followed the paperwork to do it. And she got them done, 15 minutes before we had our meeting, so I didn't get the checks wrote out for it, but they have to go out by the 20th, I believe.
Correct, they're
Okay.
due to the 20th.
So we need permission to get them mailed out.
So we still need to add that total to the 65,000 because we're writing the checks and sending them out.
Right.
So it's more than the 65,000.
Well,
That's
it's
what it's saying.
65,000 plus.
Plus,
All of the
plus the,
settlements.
what's
all
the
the
total?
settlements. I don't know, I just got this paper.
Okay, I got it, that's what your question is, correct?
You have a total with the
It's
settlement?
it's on the,
Which number is this? Because I got 7,000 of them here.
oh, on that column,
Is the one by Marshfield?
yeah.
The $1,706,359.95.
Say that again?
$1,706,359.95.
Okay, I'll state it again.
Okay, okay.
The motion is to approve the checks number 15,338 through 15,339,
389.
excuse me, 15,389, and probably would actually go to 15,395 if the checks go in that order for the other six. And that will include also the electronic transfers of 1733 through 1738. And the total on those first is $65,531.80, and plus $1,706,359.95 for the settlements.
For a total of,
I didn't have them up.
1,771,891.75.
yes, got it. Oh my.
I'll second
Now I
that.
have-
I know I'm supposed to be a letter checker.
Okay, okay, the motion has been made and seconded. Let's get this all straight now. For checks, to approve checks 15338 through 15395, plus electronic transfer 1733 and through 38. And then with the addition of the county settlements of 1,706,359.95, added to the 65,531.80 equals 177, 1,771,891.75. Now, is there any discussion? You said you had.
15,345 for fire department. 10,000.
That was the transfer from Fall Fest, their profit from Fall Fest to put into their savings account. And the 2,600 right below that was the transfer from rentals to the park.
The McMillan community.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, well, I was trying to figure that, because I saw some in there at the banks too, and I was wondering what.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, a couple of those to the bank. One is, if you go down to 15,361, that was for taxes that had to be reimbursed.
Okay.
And then there was, another one in there too. Those are, Associated Bank was one, and then, I think there were a couple other ones too, that had to go to a bank. Capital Bank and Trust, that is Pat's retirement for the second half of the year.
Okay.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
13,367 and 15,368.
67, 68, let's go through. That would have been Fire Department and Innovative Machines.
That was steel for the grate in the
Yeah.
shop.
Drain grate.
Yeah,
Are we still paying some for attorney's fees, is that Pete's Vanderwall or?
yeah, that's $17 or whatever it was.
I thought we were done with that. so
No,
that's-
it's not a bill.
Well, then every time they get a letter, they have to apparently read it. So it costs $17.
Well, it cost us, it actually cost 85 something, but it's split 5 ways.
Oh, okay.
Then 15,349 for Clemmies for 1809.
Okay,
Is
that
that
is
the red
for,
truck again?
no, that was the inspections for the fire department's vehicles.
DOTs.
DOTs, yeah.
And it's not ju, I mean, they do more than usually just the straight DOT, there's some oil changes in there, some filters and some other odds and ends. When they find something wrong, they fix it.
What about 15,353?
PC Doctors,
Yeah.
we had 2 computers fixed and 2 replaced. Because, well, Donna actually had, 2 weeks worth of taxes put in, and the computer kept crashing, and she had to re-enter all of them. So, and mine, she told me not to even turn the one on. It was in pretty bad shape. So I got 2 new ones, and Donna got her 2 fixed.
Didn't they just get a new one up there?
That was one that we just had fixed. That was in 2016. The software that was put on some of these computers, according to PC Doctors, was not up to standard where it should be. So that's what we were dealing with.
And it's been 5 days, so they're already out.
Pardon?
It's been 5 days, so they're already outdated anyways.
Pretty much.
So did you get it working now?
I got 2 new computers today. They actually put them in. So, and hers has been all fixed. Am I correct, Donna? Yours is working decent now?
Because we got a router and we're having problems?
We had a new router put in also.
Because I talked to the guy from Country Wire,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
he told me you were having problems.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, yeah, the fire department's got problems too. But he says, you got yours on that tower.
Yeah, whatever.
He says that tower's on
The time of day shouldn't affect it. We know it's slowing it down. Everybody gets home about 1 o'clock in the
Has that
afternoon.
got a
If
lot
I
of
can do all my
movement?
business at that time, we're pretty good, or about 2 o'clock in the morning.
Does that have movement though?
There's not very much. I
He
talked to one
said,
of
he
the-
said that thing is unsafe, they won't even climb it. And I said, I don't know, I said, I'll talk.
Well, it's not meant to be
If
climbed.
it's that bad, I
It's not a
think
ladder.
I go to the top of mine up north.
it should be taken down.
Okay. Any other discussion? Okay, can we vote?
Joe,
Aye.
Dave,
I,
Carolyn, Gary,
I,
Kevin.
Aye.
Okay, on the balance in the checking account, we're not gonna have a reconciliation for you today because we cannot get it to reconcile. We went through last month and that one doesn't work either. So we're gonna have to go back until we can find one that actually does reconcile and move forward from that point. So right now, we don't know if we have 39,000 in the checking account or 32,000, for sure. What I do know for sure is whatever is left, the fire department's portion of it is $21,945.52.
21 what, excuse me?
$21,945.52 was, I took their expenses off what they had started with their budget, and that's what they had left. So we are either going to have 11 or 17 left in the checking accounts. So, and as soon as we can get it reconciled and everything to come out, then we'll know.
Okay.
So you need to figure out what you wanna do with that.
What's not jiving?
Then I went through, which one did we go through, Donna? We went back to November, we could, and November doesn't even reconcile. Now, this should be, what, a 10-minute job, and we looked at it for a couple, 3 hours this afternoon, and we cannot get those numbers to come out. I don't know what they did, I have no clue.
So you and I had this discussion before about the checks,
Mm-hmm.
and as we have all the check numbers written on here, as we have the budget, we went through on the budget, we have line items on the budget, account, whatever we did. Is it possible to, for the checks when they're written out, to put what account they're supposed to come out of? So we
Well,
can-
that should, we can do that, yeah. But what's that got to do with the reconciliation right now? We're having the problem with the bank statements reconciling with the checkbook. And we don't know why. Because if you look at November's statement alone, she put on there for receipts, okay? The checks, you got the total of the checks, that was fine. But when you look at the receipts that were deposited, the deposits, she had put 44,000 down, and when you go through the list, it was what, 250,000, Joe?
Well, somewhere around 240 to 250,000.
Yeah, so I have no idea. Like I said, we're gonna have to work backwards until we can find one that actually does reconcile and then move from that point.
So at this point, do we need to have an audit now, being we just changed?
Well, we aren't in a position at this point to even have an audit. We obviously will have an audit. You know, but, I mean, we ought to try and figure out what
Where
the
we're
heck.
You
So
get
the
it?
last,
Basically, it's just a checkbook balancing act. And the problem is that, what the board is being presented for the last some number of months, really wasn't the true checkbook numbers. Whether the two accounts between the clerk and treasurer were having issues, they talked about it all the time, like they were having trouble reconciling, and whether they just fudged some numbers to come up with the number that was the same at the end by putting in less deposits one month and more deposits another month, I don't know. But that's what they've gotta find out, they gotta go back to where there's an account that balances with the bank in July, May, January, wherever it did, and then bring them back forward and find out what it really is. And when they do that, then we can see where we are and follow through, and then have that audited. Because right now, to have that audited, you don't even know what you're looking at. That's,
so,
No wonder they
31st of October, according to the financial report, they reconciled.
Right,
well,
but it
November
doesn't.
too.
But it doesn't.
I did in November too, I think,
Yep,
yeah.
the numbers show that you did, but they don't.
The bottom number on the treasurer and the clerk always reconcile, but how they arrived at that, there's some
Well,
question.
that's
on
why I
it.
questioned when we had that one, there was number changes that were written in.
Well, that was, I think they were just,
In October.
That was October?
Yeah.
Well, and that's where they're gonna have
We
to
gotta
just
find
go
out.
back and work backward and find where there's one that really does make sense with the bank
yeah,
and then come forward from there.
that's all you can do. So, as soon as we get it, I'll email it to you. And then you can get them approved at the next meeting so that you'll have something to look at. But if you want to come in the office and help, you are all more than welcome to.
See you Sunday morning.
It's
Uh,
a,
See you Sunday morning.
Hey, I was here yesterday, so I wouldn't talk too smart there.
okay.
You want to designate any money anywhere at this point? Or are you just gonna leave it right until we find out for sure?
I think that we, yeah, that,
Is this where they need the fire department stuff done, or can that be done underneath the other one if it happens?
What?
I said, do they need to do the one for the fire department now, or can they do that?
They can wait on that one too, I mean, it's up to them. Do you guys wanna designate that for the fire department, or if you wanna hold off, or what do you wanna do?
Maybe hold off till,
Wait till we find out for sure where we're at?
Do we know what we got?
Yeah. Okay. That's all I got. There wasn't, nothing sent from the county either for announcements, so I got nothing.
Okay. What about for anything from the plan commission stuff?
I
None
haven't
of
gotten
that?
anything yet.
Okay,
No.
okay.
So when did you come up with the one that they have something for the agenda? For the 22nd?
Yeah, you had more information, I didn't do
Oh,
anything.
yes, it was, and he left already, Mr. Phillips.
He brought it to you.
He brought it to me.
Yes.
And he needs to talk to them. The county's told him he needs to go through the plan commission and us, because they don't wanna charge him the fee for what he's looking at if there's no way it's gonna work.
Mhm.
So I said, well, then he needs to just come to the plan commission and tell him what it is he wants.
That's for the church you're talking.
No,
This
that's
is for the,
it's for something, it's his own personal thing.
Okay.
A business, so,
yeah, I got nothing there.
yeah, okay. Well, and so that's why he's gonna go to the plan, so I called Deb and told him that, they need to schedule it and hear what he has to say, so.
So the county told him he had to go to the plant commission first?
Yes, so that he didn't have, otherwise they would,
I thought that was with the county zoning, you had to go to the county first.
Yeah, that was my understanding.
they're trying to save him
Somebody.
money.
Fee in case of.
The fee, in case, it's not gonna work, why then he won't proceed, so,
Depends who you talk to.
yeah, I guess.
Today, we're doing it this way, Joe.
Day to-
Tomorrow will be another day.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, so then we don't have any financial report period for this.
Okay.
Treasurer,
Donnie, you got anything?
Donnie, anything to report?
I can tell you that the tax savings account, the normal financial report that you get with the taxes on the bottom or on the top, that reflects the tax savings account at this moment, posted through 2 o'clock on Friday before the new year. It was $1,313,495.60. It's probably a zero balance at the end of December, so there was no money left over from last year in that tax account. So that's, but then, of course, we continue to collect. And so everything that I collected, but doesn't all get posted until the 1st or the 2nd because of the Friday and the Saturday collections that don't get added on. I collected for the taxes $2,115,594.49. I also collected $95,048.10 of the special assessments. There's still $28,064.47 of the special assessments that were on the tax roll to be collected.
How much?
Still to be collected on the special assessment, which is the refuse garbage,
Yeah.
$28,064.47. Those are still out there on bills. However, there were quite a few missing. I've collected probably 10 or 12 of them as the residents came in and it was not on their bills. I collected those. There's probably close to 40 more that were not on bills that should have been. Also, the same issue with the lottery credit. That, of course, doesn't come in on the tax rolls like that, that's a credit. So there are quite a few of those that have to be adjusted yet. as well. I'm working on those. Okay. The, the volunteer firefighters savings account is $17,307.94. Also, at the end of on the 31st, we transferred the 10,000, give me that number again, 10,000. 10,197.03. That was their fall best funds that also go into that account.
And that
And
includes,
that total will be reflected at the end of January, because that's when it came in. Okay, park fund savings.
Okay, you're confused, Carolyn.
so the 17,000 that you just said,
Uh-huh.
Was the balance.
after the 10,000
No.
was, so you still got 10,000 more to go?
Correct. Because we
Okay,
made those transfers on the 30th, and of course, they
Okay.
don't get posted
At the bank.
at the bank. So that's a little bit confusing. But
Okay.
theirs was 27,000 and change,
Mm-hmm.
at this point, but that won't show up until the end of next month.
okay, thank you.
Okay. The park fund savings, the same thing. Their end of December balance shows $7,887.69. There was just a little bit of interest posted in December. However, they received a check for $2,600, which again, gets posted in after the 1st. So that'll reflect at the end of January. The 2 CDs remain the same. The fire department's equipment CD matures March 12th. It's for $20,165.53 if they leave it there and it matures through that time. The public works one was just a 3-month renewal the last time. And that one is $27,946.42. I need you to consider what you wanna do with that one next month, because it matures on the 18th. You'll meet just before that. And if you're going to
Done on the agenda.
just renew it, then that one will stay right there and just be renewed. But you want 3 months, 6 months, you need to think about that with your budget and if you need that for road work or whatever you're gonna do with that. You need to decide on how long a term that you want that one for. Let's see.
That's the one that's gonna go for the bridge, right?
Dogs. When the computers were corrupt and we lost all the taxes, of course, we lost all the dog stuff. But prior to that, when we instated the stuff in the county, all the dog records were had been removed. So it's gonna take me a while to recreate the entire dog list. I've asked your, Gus to give me a copy so that I can get ahead of that, so when people come in, they're not waiting so long for dog things. So we'll try to make that a priority this week, then to get those in.
You supposedly were current last year, right?
He had to be current last year because that you have to settle with the county. And your last settlement at the county is in December. You can't get your new dog tags until you settle. So that has to be submitted. It was there in December and then was not.
So how what was it, 13, 14, 15, and 16, and 17 were all,
We're all gone.
yes. Those records are completely gone off the computers.
The only
They're not on
thing
any
it
of them.
means to anybody is that, you've got your whole base for who had dogs, who has dogs. The only record we have is what Gus has, because I don't even have a copy of that. So,
So that should make it much easier, getting his copy.
That'll let me get ahead
It
of
will
the
help.
people, yeah. And put their name and address and all that stuff in there,
Okay.
so that'll take some time.
So all that just disappeared from the computer? Is that what you're
Yeah,
trying to say?
From all of them.
It disappears from all of them.
And that was the, whatever the county, whoever the county contracted that through when, because of the system locked up.
No,
No,
they were actually on our computer at one time and deleted.
You said that the county reconciles that, do they have records of that?
no, the only thing that they get is a reconciliation
Okay,
front page, they don't get copies of
don't get
those.
anything on it.
Gus gets them.
Okay.
But other than that, the county just gets the settlement. It goes into the computer, it prints out, you know, just dollar amounts. And the split. That's all it does.
Okay.
David?
I've got a question. So going back to the garbage and recycling, how many weren't on the tax roll that had garbage and recycling? Because we have to submit a list or number, correct?
Which I did, which was,
I
And
did
I
find in his computer, the old one, I found a list of names that he typed up and should have reported those to the county. However, the treasurer doesn't do that. The treasurer gives that to the clerk, and the clerk submits that when she does the entire setup for the taxes. I don't know what happened, but some of those names that was on the two list that I found from 15 and 16, or was it 16 and 17? 16 and 17, I think I showed them to Carolyn. Those names were on a couple of lists, but never made it to the county. Why, I don't know. Wasn't all of the names?
That was approximately how many?
we have seven, our count right now, as far as advanced disposal is 755.
I went through all the taxes and I pulled those all aside, and I had 40 some of those. I've collected 10 or 12 of those already, extra. And people are very gracious about that. They know they need to pay for garbage. However, some of them know that they haven't paid it for 6 years. It didn't come forward with it. So, you know, we just have to watch out a little closer. We'll try to reconcile, you know, get that current. Now, some of it's not the people's fault. You know, they're doing the best they can too. They don't necessarily look at all the details on their taxes. The lottery, and that's what happens with the lottery, it is the responsibility of the homeowner to make sure that your lottery credit is on there. There were a lot of them, and especially I find a lot of the new people, when they buy a home first time or whatever, they don't understand it, and so it gets lost. But if you make some changes on your property, sell a piece, splits, all those kinds of things, that gets kicked off. And then it should get put back on. That's why the treasurer gets a split roll and a lot of that kind of notifications all at the same time when you get your taxes. So you can compare. But it's a lot of comparing.
So how would a property owner know in advance? I mean, we have a form down here right now that, Gary, you went through it too, that they
Yeah.
fill out if it's not on there
Correct.
currently. Do they get immediate credit when they're paying their taxes? like
Yes.
that?
If they fill that form out, it used to be years ago, if you came in and told me that you lived there January 1, they didn't need documentation. So what happens now is, like Gary did, he filled out the paperwork, so he would get his credit, he knew it was missing, he knew that. So he fills it out to me when he pays his taxes, I can change that one particular thing. You can't change the special assessments, that's a bill. But the lottery credit's a little bit different. So on his, I'll change it when he pays it, if he presents that paperwork. That paperwork goes to the county, and then they reconcile with the state. If you've kind of fudged it and you're also getting it somewhere else, they're going to send you a bill. So, you know, you can fill out and tell me that you were there January 1 and the whole 9 yards, but if you kind of falsify that, then they're gonna send you a bill. There's no point in people doing that. Everybody that's come in has been very gracious about that. They know.
Okay. All right, we'll move on to unfinished business. Are you finished?
I am, thank you.
Thank you. Unfinished business, approve, disapprove, repair, or replace Rescue 3. I guess, Rodney, you have something to present to us.
Yes. At our last meeting, there was a motion by the board to allow me to fix Rescue 8 up to $5,000. And it was also stated by the board that you wanted me to go to Draxler's Auto for repair in Hewitt, and also to A&D, DNA in Unity, and I did that. Both of them basically came up with the same thing that everybody else has been saying, that you can try to put a Band-Aid on it and put it together. But their major concern was the fact that there was antifreeze that had separated in the oil, and where the antifreeze had separated in the oil, that meant it had been in there for a while, basically kind of with this acidity of the antifreeze chewing at the bearings and stuff. So none of them felt comfortable with just finding the leak and changing the oil and putting it back on the road again. They all recommended to change the engine at that time and not even mess with trying to find where the leak is, just get it gone. And they all basically kind of up and down basically agreed that the bottom line for replacing that engine would be about $6,000. And at the time last month, you gave me $5,000 to repair it. So that basically saying, I stopped at that, saying we're not going to be fixing it at that money, and I moved on to the next step, because obviously we need this rig back in service or we need a replacement. Everybody on board so far yet? How have you been moving along?
I called Al when I saw the agenda on Friday at DNA, and he said that you told him that you were coming to the board meeting and you wouldn't bring the truck up there to have him look at it. And I said, well, we gave him authorization to go ahead and get it looked at to find out what the repair cost should be. And he can't figure out a repair cost without looking at the truck and figuring out if it's the intake or where it's leaking from.
So you're wishing with antifreeze and stuff in the oil, because we didn't change the oil, all we did is drained off the bottom. You want me to drive it to Unity?
How can you drain off the bottom?
All they did is what had settled out, they drained off until it became oil, and then topped
So
off
you
the
pull
oil.
the drain plug out.
Exactly,
run out, and
so
put the drain
that's
plug
where
back
it's
in.
sitting. I didn't feel that it was wise, if we're gonna be replacing it, to be driving it any further with water and antifreeze in the oil.
You said there was like 2 cups that came out.
Correct. That doesn't, I mean, if there's 2 cups that have settled to the bottom, that also means that there's antifreeze that's inside that oil. You know, as it dissolves, it's in the oil.
So proceed with
And
what-
his recommendation was to change the engine. It was, I mean, he says we can find it, we can figure out where it is, but his recommendation still was to change the engine. That was still the recommendation.
He didn't tell me that.
And I did open it up that he could come down and take a look at it. He says, well, there's really no need, because his recommendation was that. Since following through with that, the fire department also looked at it, and I brought it up to them. And for the use of the rig and some of the shortcomings of the current rig that we have, they also felt that at this time we should not be repairing that rig, we should just be looking for a replacement. So they allowed to have a committee formed, which the committee came up with, and they looked through all of the rigs that you guys had brought up to you guys. They also had brought up some of their own, and they narrowed it down to 2 rigs for the board to look at. This one here you've seen before, this is the one for 27,000. This one here is for 47,500.
So what are the shortcomings on the rig that,
Currently, there's only 2 seats in the rig that have seat belts. The 2 rigs that I have here for you to look at to consider tonight also have cascades on them, but they are the updated higher pressure cascade systems. They're the 6,000 pound bottles versus the 4,500 pound bottles. Which would mean that we would not have to purchase a new cascade system or upgrade that when we do our breathers, because our breathers will be going from 2216 bottles to 4,500 pound bottles. Also within that, if you go back and you look at some of the items that come with it, there is an upgrade. It would be for both of the generators. Instead of being a gas standalone sort of type of generator, it would be one of them, the one for 27. That one has basically a PTO-driven hydraulic system, which is a flip of the switch, which is a lot more user-friendly. The one for 27 would also be a slightly larger rig, giving us more compartment space, so that the grain rescue, how do I want to say it? The grain rescue unit that we have for rescuing people out of grain would not have to ride in with people. Also, both of these units are units where the cab allows you to ride at least 4 people, so that we would actually have nobody riding in the back of the rig, which is safer. The rig that I preferably like, I know that it's a little bit older than the one that's 92, is an 89, but that one there, the seats are either facing forward or back, which in my opinion, for safety reasons, you're better off facing forward than sideways if there's a collision. And like I said, it gets you out of the back of the rig, it gets you into the cab. They also come with such things as the electric hosiery or electric cord systems, which we do not have on our current rig. We have just basically extension cords that you use at your house, which may not seem like much, but it is, when you get on scene, it is much safer and easier to deploy.
do any of the other trucks have that?
No, none of ours do. Both of them have reels though. The one for 27 has also hydraulic for tools on it, and they left one of the tools on and the pump on, which would allow us to have 2 rigs with cutters, and, or not cutters, but with spreaders and that. It does not have a cutter at this time. It also, for our air conditioning in our old unit, it's basically a window unit that we've cut a hole in the side of the rig and put it through, so we open up a cabinet door to allow that to function as an air conditioner. I did do some further talking back and forth with that county that's selling that rig, and the tires are newer than the ones that we currently have on 3. They are at their 10-year mark. One was in 06, was the rear ones, and 07, the front ones. But that is still newer than what we're running in the current unit.
No list of engine service or transmission service or anything else that has been done to the vehicles that they've had on? They should have a complete list of everything they've had.
Yes, the one
That,
the one for, I did not request any of that information, that I asked what service that they've done, and they said on the one for the 27, they said it was an all minor thing. There was nothing, there was no engines changed out, there was no transmission stuff. They're also throwing in, which, I mean, they're also throwing in, they've already replaced and put in the new batteries for the unit, and then they said they'll be putting on oils and changing the oil for us, because I informed them that the unit, because I asked them, I said, is the unit sound enough to make the trip from here to there? And they said, well, we'd recommend a, and because they have their own maintenance shop, they said that they would take care of that for us.
So what is your recommendation?
Due to, I mean, I guess the other things out of it is if you can look through the budget stuff, there is at the fire department's, ability to utilize, there is more than $27,000 there. But we do also have to remember that we would like to also do the grant for the breathers. I do not want to miss that opportunity, because I think that it's a very good opportunity to Stratford. So my recommendation this time would be the Salisbury for the 98, which is the $27,000 rate. And reminder, I guess the other thing out of this is we're not just gonna send them a blind check and have it shipped up here. My intentions is to send 4 people down to do an inspection on the rig. And if we would wish us to, before we would even go down, to have the maintenance records pulled up here, we can do that.
Well, I think at the very least, you have to have the maintenance records, what was done to anything we buy. I'd love to tell you that we're better off buying brand new, so you get warranty and everything, absolutely.
I put it this way, as the chief, I wish that I could put in front of you saying, this is what we propose to do with a brand new rig. But we also have to realize here that in a few years down the road, we need to replace engine 10, and that is a new rig. So in budget-wise, there's just no way that I can foresee us being able to swing that. We need the rig, but new is just out of the question, because you've seen some of the prices when you're approaching new, what the cost of those rigs were.
I think spending $6,000 for an engine, and you got something for $27,000. That's newer, is safer, is more user-friendly, it's more compatible with what the people we have trained over there to work with what we have. Engine 10 and this one are pretty compatible, same engine, same transmissions. And above all, I think we gotta, safety is the name of the game. And I've always felt, and I've had that unit out that we've had over there, it got us by for $8,000 for 8 years. That's $1,000 a year. There's still gonna be some cost recovery for whatever it goes for, scrap or whatever. What did we end up with on the, like the ladder truck and the old engine? Was that $2,500?
$3,000 or something like that.
$2,500 or $3,000?
Much.
Yeah. So you add that to that 6,000, you got 9, so.
Oh, and that's 6 on the high end for replacing the motor too. Could be $1,000 just in a couple gaskets or less.
And I understand that, but I don't, I've driven the rig.
I'm not arguing safety, I'm not.
From a safety standpoint, we have to look out for our own people.
Correct.
And
One point Rod made with me when I was looking at it is that the chassis being the same, for lack of a better word, it's almost like a cab-over type of a truck, which is what most of the other vehicles are that they're driving. So you got these people who maybe aren't used to driving trucks all the time, are jumping in these trucks and driving them. They're trained to do it, but all the trucks are gonna drive more, more the same, not having a hood sticking out in front of you on a truck where they're all gonna be more similar in that respect.
Yeah, when you got a cab over is what they call them, you're the first one at the scene of the accident. You notice how many semis you see out there that are cab overs? Everyone went to conventionals. I don't know if they can do that with fire equipment or not.
There is, I guess looking at it too, there is conventionals that are out there, but most of the conventionals of the price range and the age that comes with the price range, They're not four-person cabs. They are, you know, at a minimum, they're basically two-person cabs, and then they put the people in the back with the equipment. So they're in the back of the rig, and in this age class, even this one here, if you kind of go through with their counts on people, I believe that a couple of those people in their counts are still riding in the back of the rig. I would not allow that, because there's no seatbelts back there. It's only the seatbelts that are in the cab. And that still gets us up over 6 people, which is more than, which is what we need. I mean, it's more than what we need. We need at least 4.
If all 4 are right, usually will, minimum you have to have 2 per vehicle, correct?
It's probably
The standard.
But when we're moving, remember, we're getting into Mavis and stuff like that, and they're requesting that we roll with 4 people, 3 people minimum. So I would still, if I rolled out, which we are on with that rig, because we were doing Mavis cards before that rig went down for service, and my intention is to replace it. So I did not have any of the departments remove us from their list. But because we have a cascade system here, which is not very common in the county, there's a bunch of them that do, but you're getting over towards Safer, Wausau, and stuff like that. But when you get in this part of the county, there's not a lot of those units. We are put on quite a few fire departments on the list for Mavis to be bringing that rig. So then we'd be having one, either we'd be running another vehicle over there, and I know that the town board in the past has not wanted us to take personal vehicles, so now we're taking another vehicle to get our personnel there.
And this Rescue 3 is the second truck that usually leaves?
This unit is usually more of like the third rig that pulls out of the building. Normally what we would be rolling on a 1050 is we're going to roll out engine 10 is going to be a primary vehicle. That's why I say when that one comes to be replaced, I'm going to get a primary vehicle. And then the second rig after that is our little SUV, which is Unit 8. And then this rig would be rolling in then with a tanker.
And that's basically for all accidents, but if it's a structure fire, that order changes.
That order changes in the structure fire because then both tankers will be leaving, the ladder truck will be going. But it's still in the loop to be coming because all of our rehab stuff, everything is on that rig.
Where's this one out of?
This one is out of Texas.
It wasn't a flood one?
No, it was not. I asked that question. And I said it wasn't used for any flood relief. They also stated that this rig has been stored inside all this time. It hasn't been parked outside as some agencies do.
Is that a dual axle or a dual tire in the back? Or
Yes.
is that the big wide floor?
No, it's dual.
So if you're to go with this, let's talk about finances. If you're-
Go.
Excuse me, go ahead.
My thought process on the money that we had left over from our last year's budget, we would use that, and then the balance would come out of our equipment, CD. And for the, because the next thing you're gonna ask is how we're gonna pay for the grant for the breathers. The breathers out of that, we would take what was left out of the equipment grant, or equipment CD, and out of Fall Fest.
So that's what you're suggesting, that's your recommendation?
That is my recommendation. And within that too, we also need, basically with the understanding, I kind of talked with Pat a little bit on it. I'd like the leeway of being able to have roughly $2,000 to be able to take the 4 people down and pick it up. Not saying that we're gonna spend all that on fuel, but just the leeway with the understanding of, because I imagine there'll be at least one night's motel in that, possibly 2. We're gonna try to do with 1, but
You're gonna drive down there?
yes,
You're gonna drive straight through?
that's my thought, yes.
You
16
got a long
hours.
drive.
It's 16 hours, it's not a big deal.
You're going where?
Texas.
Texas.
You got longer than that.
Well,
Depends on where in Texas.
Yeah, but still.
I use Google Maps is what I use at this point in the game.
Okay, so just to back this up, 27 is their price.
27 is their price. I have not, that is their asking. I have not tried to Jew, because I was not gonna start trying to Jew them on price until I knew that we were Seriously.
The way to get serious is to actually have the prices to begin with.
They had just reduced it, so I don't know how much leeway that they have.
If they reduced it, it's been for sale for a while. Did you check on what it costs to get a chip up here?
No, I did not, because I know that we do have to look at it. I wouldn't buy a used rated sight unseen.
And who would be going down to look at it?
We have not 100% figured that out yet. Myself would be one of them, possibly assistant chief.
Well, I know, look how much we stuck in that ladder truck already, you know, above and beyond the purchase price. And I mean, I know we got residents out there that are already saying that, you know, our fire department budget's way too high when you look at other townships. I mean, I got Lincoln's last year, their whole budget is 80,000, and they had 12.5 put in for new equipment, which, you know, drops it down, and we're at what, 170,000, name close to it? With the ambulance and everything? Yes, we are.
You mean with all the extras that they've done? Because your budget is not anywhere close to 170,000, is that what you were saying?
Yes.
No,
No, that is not correct.
I don't have it with me, should know what it is. It's not-
The ambulance and
I know it's not-
everything in it.
Well, ambulance is 50-some thousand by itself.
Yeah, but that's not, you
But
take that out.
Town of Lincoln's got ambulance too at 40-some thousand. And they, you know, their whole budget's, like I said, 80,000 for 2017.
You take you take the ambulance out of there, which is, but it's because we were required because of the way we have to do the C form, Form C. Anyway, their budget was, what, 89,000.
Well, if you take 43 off of their 80, then that's down to,
Yeah, but there's a
37,000.
lot of difference between Lincoln and here. So, anyway, I mean, are we gonna keep just feeding
What do we
good
want-
money
what do
after
we-
bad, or what?
What do we want the ladder truck at?
58. So there's, I think, 2 payments left, so.
And where did you want it? You were gonna pull the money from this from,
What we believe we have left is 21.
22 almost.
21,945.52.
We were wishing to use that and then pull the rest out of the CD.
and what's the volunteer fire fund for? That's just Fall Fest to begin with?
Basically, that's the Fall Festival, what we're utilizing that for is if we got the SCBA grant.
Which that, with the 10,000 into it, will show 27,504.97. And the equipment fund is gonna show 21.
No, more than that. That was what they had left at the end of the year, was the 21,945.
Out of their budget.
Well, town budget, not just fire budget.
No, it's the fire department budget.
Fire department budget, there was
Right.
$21,945.52 left that they did not spend out of their budget.
Which is still township.
Well,
Yes.
that's correct,
Okay.
but that's what it is, so, and then you have the 20,000,
Is it 165?
165.53 in the CD. So. Okay, somebody.
Dorothy, do you have your hand in it?
Well, okay, who for are you going to take down that are mechanics? I mean, I realize you know what you need for your fire department, but for somebody that's sound on mechanics, that's my question.
Depending upon when and where we go, we were considering Pat. Adam he basically does maintenance work. I know it's Walmart, but he works in the auto care that way, and his background's that way. So as a professional, we don't have anybody at this end.
which, the other question, you were talking about driving it back. I'm not trying to argue or anything else, but in the Towns Association, they brought up about, you guys got this, read this yet?
The new one?
Yes.
No.
So it was in here about having CDLs. So I know municipality-wise, we do not have to have CDL drivers here. But now, this is a piece of equipment that is required a CDL, because it's gonna have air brakes, and it's technically, it's Class B.
Correct.
So you guys can't drive it back unless somebody's got CDL, DOT, Fed card. Because now you're crossing state lines. So for insurance purposes and everything else, you cannot do that.
Well, I'd like to, I guess, I would like to, I guess, do a little more research on that before I would say no. And the reason that I say that is because Marshall just drove theirs back, and the individuals that drove that back were fire department members that had the training of being basically a firefighter and trained as driver operators. So I'd like to know basically how they did it if we can't do it.
I'd like to know too.
So, I mean.
I'm not trying to argue, I'm just.
No, that's what I was
using.
using.
And that was.
That's why I had
part of
super
it.
research it. I mean, myself, I do have a CDL, but I do not have my med card at this time. So I would have to up on that. And I know that we have Ernie Lurby that has a CDL.
And Pat.
And Pat.
Pat.
Yeah, but to go out of state, you need a med card.
Well, what's it take you to get that, you got the
This
CDL,
is cool.
Go to the
you just get it
chiropractor,
renewed.
pay $75. Go back to the DMV, pay another $100.
Okay, so, anyway, we need to be moving here.
I'll make a motion that we authorize, Rod to check out this, 1989 and purchase it if it meets all the requirements that he needs to do. And I don't know what to do for a budget number. I don't know what the 27,000 means, is that they're gonna be, you know, license, title, all kinds of other stuff added on to that, I imagine.
Once it gets back here, it'll have to be titled and that.
License.
Because we're a municipality.
We're just talking about the purchase price of it, there won't be any taxes involved or anything. Okay.
Unless they have a current one, I don't know.
And the motion should authorize me to spend $27,000 to buy it. If it has to go that high.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Motion has been made and seconded for the fire department to purchase the vehicle under $27,000.
Yeah, it's the,
Is there any further discussion?
I'd like to remind the audience that over the years, since we started the Fall Festival in 1988, we've averaged $12,000 per year. That's over $400,000 that the fire department members and the members of this community donated back to you as taxpayers without using tax dollars. And a lot of us have worked every year. Go ahead.
Okay, any further discussion?
I just want to say, the money is in there for that to happen. I have concerns about transportation part. I still think you need to get the records before any commitment is done. And I
That
think
can be
it-
done. He's been very forth on all of the questions so far and everything, so I don't think that that would be an issue to get that up here.
I would rather have all that stuff come back to the board and the board review it and look at that before, I know the motion was made to spend it to buy it, but I'd rather have.
Well, if
somebody.
it's a glaring deficiency,
If it's a glaring deficiency,
you're
that'd be a
gonna
no.
turn it down, correct?
Correct.
So, yeah, you're not gonna go along with it. Plus, you know, it will behoove you to find out if there's a possibility of any other further costs that are going to be associated. So,
So warranty they're given with it?
municipality, all of the rigs that you get down to this dollar amount that we have, mostly are being sold by municipalities, and municipalities don't give a warranty with anything. When you sell basically anything out of here, like the dump trucks or plow trucks, we're not giving a warranty either. I mean, you can get trucks with warranties, but now you're getting up in $100,000 and $200,000 trucks, and you're buying them right from dealerships then.
Okay, Deb, can we have a vote?
Joe,
Aye.
Dave,
Aye.
Carolyn,
Aye.
Gary,
No.
Kevin,
No,
Okay. Okay, let's move on here. Discussion with residents on Birch Street.
Yes.
We're still awake?
We're kind of here. Carol, Allison is handing out some brochures for the board members. I'm Bill Arneson from M641 Birch Street. Allison?
Allison Minor from M645 Birch Street. I kind of fall asleep. So we've been trying to address this Birch Street issue for since at least 2015. And after the discussion at the November meeting with regards to pavement of other roads, we've come together and come up with a proposal for hopefully resurfacing Birch Street. And we did it as a whereas type thing. So whereas the town of McMillan has 17 roads that are already chip sealed, whereas Birch Street from County Highway T to Day Road has been listed in the CIP as follows: 2009 for upgrading, 2012 for hard surfacing, 2015 for application of a base layer which was placed, as well as many previous promises for paving this road over the years. And whereas Cayman and Gilead, which are already paved, are scheduled for blacktopping at a cost of $137,200, as detailed in the minutes of the Town of McMillan Board meeting dated November 15th, 2017. Whereas maintenance and repair of blacktop roads have the potential to be more costly to maintain than double chip seal roads. Whereas the citizens on Birch Street have procured an estimate of $43,911 for double chip sealing of Birch Street, understanding that prep work for chip sealing of that road could be done by the current township equipment and personnel to ensure cost savings of the project. An estimate which would have worked, quote, within the budget of the General Transportation Aid and Shared Revenue Grant, in quotation, as suggested as criteria for road improvement selection by Dave Swenson at the town board meeting of November 15th, 2017. Whereas Drake Avenue, a majority agricultural road with 12 residences and 20 field access driveways, is scheduled for blacktopping for 2 miles as listed in the CIP 2016 to 2021 document at a cost of $420,000 in 2019 and $420,000 in 2021. And whereas the said 1 mile of Birch Street, which is mainly residential with 14 private driveways, 5 field access driveways, and occasional agricultural traffic, provided the town of McMillan with $40,057 according to the 2016 tax report, as compared to $29,401 from the 2 miles of Drake Avenue scheduled to be blacktopped at significant cost to the township. Whereas Spruce and Willow, which are both dead-end roads, are listed in the CIP for chip sealing in 2020 ahead of Birch Street. And whereas a grant was received for upgrading Birch Street in 2016 but assigned to another road project instead, and the citizens at the annual budget meeting on December 22nd, 2016 voted to use highway funds budgeted and not used in 2016 for upgrading Birch Street. The citizens of Birch Street from County Highway T to Day Road respectfully request that the town of McMillan schedule this section of Birch Street for double chip sealing in 2018, and we request that bids for this project be let in March of 2018.
Any questions from the board?
So you're asking us to double chip seal a road where there is farm equipment used on that road, and the county has advised us to not go that way.
The county also has said that anything that we want to do on our own in the town of McMillan could be chip sealed, double chip sealed. And if you were going to go for a grant, we probably would not get it for double chip seal if you go for a grant. But anything taken up on our own can be double chip sealed. And talk about agricultural use of that road, yes, we admit that there's some agricultural use of that road in the spring and in the fall. Very, very limited. Where a lot of the other roads in this township, I know for a fact, I have milk trucks hauling on those roads, and there's a lot of other roads that have that done. Now, I don't know, why would the township spend more money on blacktopping Cayman and Gilead? It's already paved, and now traffic, and a low-traffic road, and the cost for maintenance of asphalt, as we were told, and maybe somebody can back this up, the cost for repairs on a chip seal road can be less than an asphalt road.
Chip seal is definitely cheaper than blacktop,
Okay?
but it doesn't hold up as well when you have large farm equipment, and that's what the county has told us. And that's what we've gone by. Plus, we also, as you know, I'm not arguing with you, I'm just
Okay.
telling you the facts of
Well, we're not
what we
arguing,
approved.
we're stating our case. okay?
Yes, and I understand it. So the planning commission, which is the conservation planning and zoning committee, is the one that came to us, the board, and suggested that we take care of the blacktop roads that we have that are deteriorating before we do any new blacktopping,
Was this,
bringing them up to standard.
was
So
this,
that's what we've gone by.
okay, was this recommended also by the Highway and Transportation Committee? Is there a Highway and Transportation Committee?
No, there isn't.
Okay, there's an ordinance 23.3 states that the Highway and Transportation Committee, and this is right off the website, saw this Sunday morning. At the first regular board meeting in May, the town chairperson shall annually appoint one supervisor and at least 3 citizens to serve on the Highway and Transportation Committee. This committee shall make advisory recommendations to the town board regarding the town's annual road resurfacing program. So I'd like to know how we have existed. The last minutes we've seen from said committee is October 18th of 2012. And it appears that we haven't had a sitting highway committee since that time. And if this is part of the township's ordinances, I'd like to get an opinion from the town attorney, perhaps, for how have we been able to go through with road projects without having it run through a committee that's part of our ordinance?
First of all, you have to have people that will agree to be on the committee.
Whose responsibility is that?
And it was mine to call people, and Dave's, and we called people, and they refused to be on the highway committee.
Can you give me the reason for refusal?
Yes, because they didn't want to work with Dave Swenson.
Then,
There you go.
as a chairperson,
I
if there is
cannot overrule it.
if there is a personnel problem, maybe there's a need for a change in personnel.
Any project that we brought, the recommendation that worked with the chair, myself, Pat Weigel.
Okay, that's not a committee. Not a committee
We
according
brought
to
it
the
back,
ordinance.
excuse me, sir,
Okay,
we brought it back to this board. And then it was either yes or it was no. So that's how we proceeded. And I apologize to no one for that. when you can't get people to study the facts, to bring forward the recommendation, we'll take it on ourselves.
But that's in
That's
the-
defying town ordinance, sir.
That's defining it, you're
Yes,
not,
but if you
you're not
can't get
been in,
people to volunteer.
you have not
to do
been
it.
in
Well,
compliance.
and in a leadership position, and it's up to you, Carolyn, it says that that if you can't get somebody, perhaps another supervisor needs to be appointed so that we can have 3 citizens to work with that other supervisor to get this thing going. Right now, we lack terribly transparency in how road projects are done. I mean, Birch gets put here, gets put there, oh, we're never gonna do it, yes, we're gonna do it, we're gonna get the grant for you, oh, no, we're gonna slip that money over here. And I'm
beg
sorry,
to-
but
I'm
if
sorry, I beg
there's
to
lack,
differ with
there's a lack of transparency in how this is done, and I think if we had our formal Highway and Transportation Committee that could make formal recommendations to the board, it gets presented in front of everybody in the board meeting, so we all know what's being proposed and what's being voted up and what's being voted down, rather than saying, you know, somebody told us there's an extra crack on Gilead, so we need to go pave 2 roads. I'm sorry, and, you know, the other thing that lacks transparency, and I would really appreciate some information on this one, the 2018 Town of McMillan budget has listed as an expense on line 53315 for highway and street construction of $86,686. Now, I'd like to know what projects are designated to be covered under these monies.
That's the whole township. When it's under the budget, when it's the budget, that means all the gravel, all the salt, all the sand, everything that goes in the whole
I mean,
township.
is
That's
that
what
spe-
it's for.
is that
And that's
specifically-
not, that's for the whole township.
That's not specifically for any 1 or 2 or 3
No,
projects?
it is
Okay.
not. It's for the whole township.
Okay, I appreciate that explanation.
Well, also then, when, back in November, was it, that you were gonna apply for a grant for Gilead and Cayman? And that was gonna be somewhere in the neighborhood of $147,000. Where was that money coming from? That was not in that budget, that was in the $86,000.
That wasn't for 140-some thousand, that would have been for
For the
like 26.
132,000 and.
No, that was
That's
what
your
they wrote.
general transportation, 128,000.
137,200 that was scheduled for repaving, that was the request for the grant that came in.
No, that was what the total cost of the project would have been. The grant would have been for, what was that one?
26,000.
26,000.
26,000.
But, okay, so you take 26,
$26,293.48.
so you take 26 away from the 140, and what does that leave? $120,000. Where was that money gonna be coming from?
It's out
If
of
it
our,
wasn't in the budget under this 86,000.
I don't think you understand that we get money from the state
Uh-huh.
under general transportation aids and shared revenue.
Right.
And that is the money that we're using to use on anything other than what is in the budget.
So you were gonna be receiving the whole $147,000 for that project?
You applied for the grant and didn't get the grant.
Okay, so are you gonna proceed with the project?
We aren't.
Okay,
It's not, Gilead and Cayman are not.
okay.
That has not been
That
approved.
has not been approved. So it didn't make the.
It wasn't approved for the grant, but if you would've got the grant, how much would the township would have had to put towards that project?
None.
None, you were gonna get a total grant?
27, say 27,000, we got 128,000 some for the general transportation aid, and then you get 50-some thousand for your shared revenue. So we wouldn't have added anything, we wouldn't have had,
So
we'd have
that,
had more than enough to
that
do it.
project was gonna be completely paid for by outside funds, is that correct?
Yes. The shared revenue, the general transportation aids, and the shared revenue, and hopefully we would have gotten the grant that would have gone toward that.
But we didn't get the grant.
But we didn't get the grant,
I know.
So could any of that shared revenue and other project monies that you're discussing, could that be applied to Birch as we propose?
well, it depends on what, you're gonna have to put out bids and what have you.
No,
Also, the other
ordinance
thing
doesn't
here
put out
that
bids.
what you need to understand is this, the capital improvement plan is a plan. There's nothing set in stone in that, there never has been. You hope that you will be able to do these things. And at the time that it was set up, we had more money coming in. But when that money is not there anymore, we can't proceed with everything.
But
And
can
we
you-
have to do what needs to be addressed,
Okay,
most importantly.
can you explain one other thing? Because in the minutes of the October 2012, the last meeting of the Highway and Transportation Committee, they listed as priorities for road resurfacing. One being, major highways and byways, that's obvious. Second would be other roads, and third, dead last would be dead end. So why are Spruce and Willow dead end scheduled to be resurfaced ahead of Birch?
They
Why
are.
is, yes,
Well,
on the
that's
CI
one of the things that's what I'm trying to get across to you, is that because they're
it
on
shouldn't
that
even be
capital.
listed, it shouldn't even be listed ahead of Birch in that circumstance. It doesn't meet those criteria. Elm Street, dead end Elm Street is paved ahead of Birch Street.
It's not paved, it is chip seal.
That's all we're asking for.
That's all we're asking for.
Well,
That's all we're asking for.
Okay,
I-
and now Willow has already been turned back to gravel. That was done this year. That is not gonna be addressed.
yeah, last year.
It was patched in the areas, so spruce isn't gonna be addressed.
Okay,
So
I'm just
it's-
telling you, it's listed ahead of us on the CIP.
I
that's all.
understand that, but what I'm telling you is that we have to address the things that have the most dire need. And when we're asked to address all of the blacktop roads and bring them up to what there should be before we try to do anything more, we have honored that. And that's all. It's not that, we prepped Drake, and that was way up the list before even Birch, and that hasn't been addressed and won't be until we get to the point. Now, we're doing well in that we don't have that many, other than Man Street, which is monumental. And I don't know how we will ever address that whole thing totally. But the other roads, your Galvin, your Stott, your main roads, County Trunkie has been redone. Stott is now in very bad shape. But we're trying to hold off on that as long as we can. It doesn't have anything to do with preference of who gets what. What we are addressing is what roads need to be addressed now.
Now, we received the base.
They
Base
do
layer.
that all the
Base layer?
time.
But there was no plans on resurfacing after placement of that base layer, which was horrible, by the way, and you all admitted to it.
Yeah,
And
And when it became a safety issue, and as Dave's quoted it again in this meeting, that safety takes priority one, we think that resurfacing of Birch, we're getting a significant amount of traffic on the road. We've got 14 residences, 14 mailboxes, 14 residences there. The traffic's not getting less, it's getting more. I've only been in the township for 23 years.
and I've only been here 42,
But I've been
and I've
told,
been on that road all that time.
but we've been told time and time again, we're gonna pay, definitely, Birch is gonna get paid. And the can gets kicked down the road, and the lack of transparency, again, on the road projects makes us a little
there
crazy.
isn't any lack of transparency. Everything comes
Every board meeting is
every
open.
single board.
I would like to suggest that we need to follow the ordinance and set up a transportation committee so that it can be,
Are you
especially,
volunteering?
perhaps.
The other issue I don't think that has been addressed a number of years ago at a budget hearing, we cut $200,000 out of it.
Dave, we cut the
And
mill
I
rates
keep
this
going back
year.
to
Well,
that.
yeah, but we cut mill rates this year because we said the budget was looking so good. I mean, don't blame it on the people that said we had to cut so many
We
dollars.
didn't cut the bill mill rate, we got the mill rate, we were given our levy.
But it was less.
And it went down because everything, but it wasn't because we did it.
But the point
It
is,
wasn't
all
because
right,
we did
excuse
it.
my words, but the point is that the mill rate did go down this year.
Yes, and
So-
every year it's going down and prices are going up.
But the levy went up.
But the levy
Levy
went
goes
up
up, the mill
because,
rate goes down.
because we borrowed money. We borrowed money and we have more in that levy right now for 2 more years until that fire truck is paid off. And as soon as that fire truck is paid off, then our levy drops again. I mean, big time.
Do you understand how that works?
It's quite complex, but I just don't know what it's gonna take to get Birch Street paved. And we've done our homework, we've really worked hard, and I mean, there's not a person on the street that would say, keep it gravel. It does become a safety issue. You guys have said time and time again that a priority of the township board is to make sure that the township is safe and whole. And, you know,
It's not.
I've been asked by you, Dave, the first time we brought it up, have you volunteered to give up part of your land? Well, nobody's asked me to. Have you volunteered to pay more taxes? Well, nobody asked me to. But, you know, that's not the kind of question leadership should ask. But I would say that to
Excuse me,
reestablish,
I'd like to rebut to that.
it's on video.
I would like to rebut to that, to your comment that you made about me. If you want to engineer that road correctly and keep it in good shape, we have to accumulate ground. You have to excavate all the trees and the obstacles that are on either side of that road out to get good drainage for that base of that road, if you're gonna keep it. We can throw 2 layers of chip seal on there, but you know what it does in the spring, some places, because there's stone, that's where the bedrock comes right up through the road.
Well, we
I
understand,
can
that's what we
can
mentioned.
just about guarantee you that that chip seal will be there maybe 2, maybe 3 years after that, then it's gonna be a problem.
Well, that's what we were talking about, perhaps prepping the road and utilizing the services of current township employees and equipment to do that.
Well, then the money's gotta come from someplace then. So that means what you need to be doing at the next annual meeting or at the budget meeting is ask for a 2% increase.
Why?
No,
Wait a minute.
no.
All right, and is there gonna be,
Because the money is less, and we have money.
is there gonna be a
everything less.
guarantee that if we all shake yes, we'll go for 2%, and then you're gonna take that money and put it somewhere else, like the last grant that was applied for?
That grant money went for something, because you had that blacktop absolutely spewing mud and water out from underneath it, which it absolutely, and when you have,
But that
Which
grant,
means what?
You need to
the
put it
application
where
for the
it
grant, the application for the grant was specifically for Birch Street. We've also asked for overflow highway monies to be applied to Birch Street, and that was at an annual meeting and voted on.
yeah.
Thank you for your time.
I guess I have just one more comment. If there is an ordinance on the books, I think it should be followed. I think that committee should be reinstated, use that also. I realize the CIP is just a flexible plan, it's supposed to be done annually. I haven't seen one for 2017. The latest one I've got was dated 2016.
I spoke to the man today about us needing to bring it up to date.
Because this one was dated September of 2016. And so if it's going to be an annual thing, I would think it would be done in September of 2017. And the other thing is, the grant that you applied for Cayman and Gillian was not even on the CIP at any time. And
But they are citizens, and they deserve to have their road.
Excuse me, so are we.
So are we.
I understand.
What I wanted to bring up before was, I don't.
Would everybody that lives on Birch Street please stand up?
That includes the landowners
That
too.
includes landowners.
Yes.
Across there.
Yeah, you're there.
I mean, we're citizens too, it listed on that, we pay taxes. I mean, I wrote a very generous check the other day.
And you're saying my leadership is poor.
No, I'm
I'm
saying.
trying to do everything we can do. We as a board.
Ignoring an ordinance and failing to set up a.
That was not my failure. It was, the
You- you-
failure
you
was,
You
well,
admitted that you're the one that did not reappoint a committee.
I didn't because I couldn't, I called, I can't tell you how many people, and they would not run. Now, I don't know what I can do.
And you already said the reason they would not run is because Dave Swenson couldn't, or they couldn't get along with Dave, or Dave couldn't get along with them. Does that
Well,
require?
he's an elected official, so,
But you
excuse
can
me.
appoint a different supervisor.
My understanding of that was that the committee's recommendation wasn't followed, so the people just didn't want to serve on the committee. They said, what's the use of having a committee if our recommendation is not being followed? And supposedly these people were all guys that worked construction and knew
What they were
what
talking.
they were talking about.
Yeah.
And see, I don't know anything about construction.
Well, Paul Mansell, you were on that committee. Butch Bartel, you were on that
I
committee.
support what Gary just said.
We didn't follow you? Put
Correct.
anything you?
Correct, I've got all the minutes, all the
We
meetings
have all
right
the
here.
specs and stuff for all of that. We changed
I
in the
have all the
ordinances.
committee meetings and all the suggestions that were made and nothing was ever followed.
I like to say that, you never called me and asked me to be on the committee. I feel that I was being prejudiced.
No, well, you
That's what I
told
feel.
me that you didn't want to be on the,
You
have
never asked
anything to
me,
do with
Carol.
this board. Well, I asked you
You
it
never asked me to be on the
right
highway
after
committee.
I was,
No, you didn't.
we're,
No, you
anyway,
didn't.
yes,
This is-
I
Bruce.
would have volunteered.
This is leadership.
I think you have a
Bruce
question.
Wyman, M636 Calvin Avenue. Who's responsible for setting up or for appointing the committee?
The chairman.
No, are you responsible?
Well,
If you- if you
I
have-
bring it to the
so-
board, yes.
Then
And the
you're
board makes the
responsible.
decision.
No, the
No,
board
no.
votes on whether or not they accept your appointments.
Right. It
That's what
comes
they do.
before the board.
That is what they do. So if you're setting up the committees and you can't get somebody to go because there's a personnel issue, you have 4 other people on that board, three other people on that board you could put in that position. And I would suspect, having remembered when Dave was first put on there, he didn't really get invested in doing that job. Because I remember him not doing that much. And so there are at least 2 other people that might be willing to do that, but you didn't make that choice, did you?
Me?
Yes.
No.
You didn't change it
I
because
mean, I
there-
went out to the citizens and asked people
You
for
didn't
help.
ask Butch. You made an assumption
Butch
because
told me
when
I went to your
you never
shop,
asked, did you ask him specifically whether he would work on that committee?
I went to his shop.
Did you ask him
Yes,
specifically?
I asked
Did she
him
ask you
now,
specifically? Then it's his word against yours, because he seems to think otherwise.
okay, so it's his word against mine. I went to your shop and I said, I need to talk to you about working on the road committee.
No, you did not.
And you said,
You came
I
over to
can't
get the
take any
file
more of
from my-
this.
From the highway. I gave you my file, what happened to my file?
You were on that, you were there on those committee
You never
meetings.
asked me to be on that committee, I would have took it. I was wondering when you
Well,
never asked me.
anyway, it's water under the bridge. We have a.
No, actually, it's a problem right now still. Is it not?
I
There's
guess
still
it
an
is.
ordinance not being followed.
Yeah, there,
And the responsible party is the chairperson.
Okay.
So you could appoint Clarence right now. He says he will.
That's fine. Well,
And
I'll
I'm
talk
sure
about
you
it
can
later.
find-
We're
Okay,
not,
that's
we aren't
fine.
making
But I
anything
want to
now.
ask a question. We have lived in this township for 41 years. We built our home, the whole bit, brought our children up here and the whole thing. From that time, we were promised that there would be a road in
Okay.
10 years. Okay, that's fine. Okay, it's been how many times? But then when you got the grant for Birch Street, and you gave it to someone else,
and that was at your discretion. They said it was very, it was not illegal, but it wasn't very
Ethical.
ethical, okay? What
Who
happened?
said that?
I called I think his name is Jim, the highway commissioner in Wausau.
There's been changes and roads are promised a number of times. Fox was supposed to be done when Clarence, when you were on, there wasn't enough money in the budget, so where did it go?
What are you talking about, Pete?
Remember, there was gonna be a road improvement on Fox?
Yes.
It's a dead end road.
We're,
And
and you
there was
signed the
grant
document.
money, and
For that grant money.
it didn't go there, did it?
No, I moved it to Winterberry.
You moved it to Winter, you had a different priority, correct?
Well, to me, it was a conflict of interest on your part because that road goes to your land. So you should have even got involved in
It's
it.
a dead end
Okay,
road.
all right,
No,
we're through.
No, I have
So
one,
you voted on
the
it
question
first?
I wanted to ask, okay? From the meeting tonight,
It was a dead
and
end road.
these people got together and they worked on this, they wanted to present it to you in a very calm, whatever way, and let you know what our wishes were. And I think they did that.
And I thank you for that.
But what I want to ask is, what I get from this meeting tonight is that there's no way in hell that Birch Street is ever gonna be paved. That's what I get out of today.
Well, I'm sorry that that's what you get. It's just, that's not what was
And I
meant
don't
to
feel
be.
that way.
I don't feel that way.
If there were dollars there, it would be addressed, but you have to, if you're going to do that project, it has to be engineered, it has to be surveyed, the utilities have to be changed, the culvert's gotta be changed, the drainage has gotta be addressed.
No, it doesn't. That ditch work,
That's your opinion.
that's my opinion,
They
and I know
did-
nothing about
This
They
is
did
my
highway.
your
opinion.
birch.
Okay.
Did they have to do all of that when they did your birch?
They dug out some trees in the way.
Yes,
They
yes,
didn't move
you
any
can't
culverts.
destroy.
But there's no cables, there's nothing down there in the bird.
There's nothing down on Birch.
You don't
You
have,
could do the
you don't
ditch-
have electricity, and you don't have any landlines.
All overhead lines,
We have all over.
overhead lines, no
When you
cable.
address the width, you have to change poles, sir.
You keep talking about the width. I was told that in this township, every road here is large enough to be paved. If we could pave that road with double chip seal and do the ditch work later if it's necessary. If you go with Solaris and they come down that road, they're gonna have to do ditch work. That would be the time to do the ditch work.
We had volunteers.
We're beating a dead horse to death here, because we're never gonna get that road paved, it's in the cards. I'm sorry, thank you.
Well, I think we gotta go back to have the highway committee, Carolyn, and
Well, I was
I think
never
some of-
against that. It's just that when you ask people,
No.
I mean, I follow all that. And I did go.
so I think we need to reevaluate the capital improvement. We need to look at not necessarily per road and getting it prepped and doing, but we need to look at all of our gravel roads. And we need to address the blacktop roads, the ones that are breaking up. But we need to look at all of our gravel roads, and nobody's putting over any more than the people that drive on them. And tackling on them every day, spending whatever else where the bad spots are. And I think we need to address the unsurfaced roads where the bad spots are, and not just grade them every year because we're not gonna do anything with it. I think if we need to dig out a chunk and get it up to par, put the drain tile in, I think we need to go forth with that aspect of it. Yes, to double chip seal in your road right now, if it's got a couple of bad spots in it, that doesn't pay to do it. We have to address the base of the roads before we do that.
Exactly, and that's the point
So-
that we're trying to make.
So if the road is a 3-rod road right now, or a 4-rod road right now,
Not even three almost.
you said John Bajowski told you that it was a 4-rod road.
Yes.
It is not.
We were told that every road in this township is wide enough for paving.
He
Now,
said we
is
were
that true or
four
is that
rods.
not true?
That is not true.
No.
We measured.
Dave,
we
how
measured.
big is our road?
I don't know.
Well, you're a highway commissioner, don't you know?
I don't know the width and length of every damn road in the township. Excuse
Well,
me.
we've been after this road to be paid for since,
understand
we had a
that.
petition back in 2015. Wouldn't you have come out and told us the exact, what we're up against?
If you put chip seal on the surface you have there with no ditch preparation, you're gonna
You did the
have-
preparation once.
You didn't do the ditch preparation, is what.
I don't care about the, you got one
Well,
culvert
you
there.
can't
There it
do,
is.
You got one culvert there, that gives us grief. That can be repaired. And you could do-
I think there's some bad spots in that road, ain't there?
What's that?
Ain't there some bad spots in that road?
There's
this
one
spring?
real bad one.
Right in front of our home.
Yeah.
Is that by that culvert, or is that?
Yes, that's by the culvert.
That's by that culvert?
Right.
Uh-huh.
So there's only one bad spot in there?
And that whole road,
That's been there forever.
that's been there that's the one I took my car in up to the door.
Sure, I'll let somebody else handle it. I'll do anything else.
Good.
If I'm the part of the problem, I want to be part of the solution also.
All right, that's great, I'm glad to hear it, that is.
You bet.
What you know, but
What
I can't say that, I can't say that, because I don't know enough about the highways to speak about it.
So,
But-
I think we need to decide as a board coming up what the projects are gonna be, so we can do the bid process earlier this year. Whatever we're gonna do, so it needs to be a future agenda, so we can address that.
in all honesty, I tell you, we thought that that's what was happening. You know, we honestly do. We go by what our road maintenance man says, and we go by going out and driving these roads and looking at them, driving over them. And we thought we were doing
The other
what
issue,
needed to be done in the order that it needed to be done.
the other issue you have is Stone Bridge.
Well, what I was wanted to bring up before was, you know, they're talking about blacktopping over Gilead and Cayman, and that's a waste of money. Them are low traffic roads, they should chip seal over them.
I think the issue on that one came in where that grant has to meet certain specifications, and we've been able to use it there. That's what they were looking at on
And they
that
will
one.
not give you any
Well, I
grant
know they
for-
won't give a
for the
grant
chip
for
seal.
it.
Well, Jim will, but you have to talk to him prior to for the advancement of, or for the notification.
I
He
thought,
has the right to do it.
I know, but he won't, they won't, because we've gone over this, we've gone over it with them.
But as you and I talked before, a mile of blacktop will cost us X amount.
125,000.
The prep on the road underneath is gonna cost us the same, does not matter what we put over the top.
Exactly.
So if the
It's the
base is
prep.
prepped correctly, it doesn't matter if it's blacktop or chip seal. The chip seal is more flexible, it's more forgiving, it's easier for patching, less work for the maintenance on it. We just did the blacktopping on Galvin last year, or the year before, and we had to crack seal. And I looked and it was, I mean, this was for all the roads for that, but that was $4,400 that we spent on
Sure,
crack seal.
right,
And that's gonna happen every year on blacktop roads.
right.
I live on a chip seal road. It was, we did it, maintenance on it once or twice.
It's a bad
Been
thing.
twice. I think it's been chip sealed twice, hasn't it, Joe?
It's only been re-chip sealed once.
And that was in
So once,
2011,
2 times then, yeah.
I believe,
And you did the east end.
down on the bottom
Yeah,
side,
yeah,
they had to
it's
get
the
some
east
drain
end.
tile put in.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
you know, other than Joe's gold pot that resided in the road in front of his house.
You don't blame me for that.
No, that was
You
the
know-
trucks from when they were working on E. That's the ones that beat up our road so terrible bad.
Yeah.
But I mean, the road is held up good. I think there's a definite crowning issue with our road on Birch. I don't believe Pat can get it cleaned off properly because, and it wouldn't pay to wedge that road anymore. At some point, if Birch gets anything done to it, it needs to get reconstructed, it needs to get top ground up. because it has a W effect to it now. The blade, the plow blade cannot clean that off. And I'm gonna blame V&H for the high speed on there, because it is their test route. And those trucks and cars come flying past that. I am surprised nobody's put it in the ditch yet. The only guy I know I did, I don't know what he was doing, but he might just throw it in the ditch.
Well, and the reason that we go for grants, it's not that it's such a huge amount of money that we get for it, but you get the engineering in there. And there is, if the engineers now are the ones that direct this, for the most part.
So at this point,
And so that's, you know, what some of the basis for it is.
so we have an engineer firm right now that,
No, we do not, but if you get a grant, that engineering is part of that.
is Tom Hardinger still our engineer for?
We have Tom come and he checks out the roads, the new roads that are being built.
Okay.
But that's about it, you know. So right? We haven't had him here for quite a while because there haven't really been any new roads. I mean, we can have Tom come out and look here at Birch and tell you exactly what that road needs.
Well, we should have record in the clerk's office right now of all the roads, whether they're 3-route or 4-route road.
Well, but
We
that's
should be
not
able-
what all you're talking about.
What?
And if you think we can find them.
It's on top of filing cabinets in the red
Sure,
folder.
yeah, right. So we can certainly bring Tom Hardinger out and let him tell us exactly what that road needs.
Will you do that?
We can do that.
Okay.
He'll be happy to do that.
All right.
Yes, so,
But if my understanding was right on the staff road, to get that grant,
stat?
yeah, all right,
Mullins.
yeah,
Oh,
that road there.
Yes.
That, to do it their way with the grant and all the extra stuff they did cost us more money in the long run than if we would have just,
The problem is that the bids we had initially were low. And we could have gotten, if we'd have asked for $200,000 more, that's a TRID. Now, there's two different kinds of grants. And that's the big discretionary grant. And had we gone for more money in the beginning, we would have gotten it. But because of the bids that we had gotten, we were low. So that's why it ended up costing more than what we had approved in the first place. So we ended up having to pay more. But you still had all that good engineering, and that road is really holding up.
That
very, very
engineering
well.
cost extra money on those bids also, remember that.
Pardon me?
The engineering costs a lot more money on those projects than if you had not had engineers do those projects.
Yeah, but that road, so you think we're better off without an engineer?
For what you're doing for some of the things, yes. I think this double chip seal would be a good test run. And the amount of traffic that's on that road, you could build a top 22 feet wide, which is a proposed double chip seal top, would support the traffic that goes on there. We don't know how much traffic is on there. That's one of the things you guys didn't follow through when the committee made recommendations.
Oh, yeah, there was.
No, just let me finish. We made recommendations to have traffic counts on all town roads, so you know what kind of traffic is going across. You don't. The only time you have anything is if somebody bitches a little bit, and Pat goes over and puts his rubber hose down. And he pulls it up either that night or the next morning, and that's it. That's his traffic count times 7.
No, it's longer than that. I'll disagree with you there.
I'm sorry, I've got a couple of things in here where he said he pulled it out.
Well, we're not gonna, you know,
Right.
so it's not. But anyway, we had to have a traffic count to apply for the grant.
Right, and I don't know where you get them from except from Pat. I'm saying, I said 5 years ago or more, to have all the town roads with traffic counts. And that went out the door.
Do we have our own traffic counter?
We've got a
Yes,
couple,
yeah.
sure.
Yeah, and we use them periodically all the time.
I think Bill had asked for a traffic count so he could compare between
We
Drake
had that, we
and,
had that.
did you ever get that?
Oh, yes, we did.
Well, I never got the count. I never got, I know you had.
We had it at a meeting, we
had
discussed it
right
at a meeting.
In front of your house, right, Jim? And, but it was there for 2 days, but I never got a count. I mean, nobody ever called and said, this was the count on that road.
Well, we could probably go back and look and see what we have, I
It-
don't know. I
and
don't
it's
know,
a-
there again, finding it would be something else too,
But
so.
to
Anyway,
bring
anyway.
this thing to an end, we have been fighting for that road for a long time. We keep getting different answers on why it can't be done. It's always an expense, or it was this, or some other road has priority. What we want is double chip seal on that road. If you have to do some prep work, fine. But let's get an estimate. Let's see what it would be. We have the estimate for double chip seal, $43,911
Where'd you get it from?
from Farner. I have the bid right here.
But that's no prep work,
No,
that's just the double chip seal.
that's right.
Okay,
So-
so what we need is Tom Hardinger to come out here and tell us exactly what we need.
That'd be fine. Then let's bring it up for a meeting and bring it up to a vote, up or down.
I called Farmer, and he figured about 40,000 to do a mile double chip seal, 125,000 for blacktop. And he estimates that blacktop will last twice as long as chip seal. But you're paying 3 times as much for it.
Right.
There's more
And
maintenance.
then
And
maintenance on it.
then you have all your maintenance. He says they don't
Prep work is not included in
can't-
that.
correct,
So there
that's
you
just,
go.
that's.
It's not
just
included in the blacktop
right,
either.
that- Yeah, it's not in the blacktop either.
Okay, well, I mean, I don't care, if that's what you wanna do.
No, I,
But he says as long as it's not a high-speed road, you can't use chip seal on
It
anything
doesn't
where.
always, but the speed doesn't always have, it's all, we already have garbage trucks,
Correct, and
you know,
pumpers.
pumpers and what have you, and, the county is the one that said, you know, the extra from the farm equipment running on that field all the time. I mean, I don't know how supposedly that's how they came up with that implements of husbandry stuff, right?
And it isn't,
Yeah,
it's.
Yeah, because they were trying to figure out, you know, how, I mean,
Keep in mind too, once you do chip seal or blacktop that road, speed is gonna be a factor. They do know how to go a lot faster on blacktop than what they do on gravel.
I'm surprised there's not head-ons right now.
yeah.
Well, I think the gentleman from Farner also said that they take into account the effect of traffic, and particularly garbage trucks, which don't make any difference. That was factored in as not being a difference.
Right, and I talked to him again, the fellow we actually had a fellow come over and talk to us about this, some farmers. And he said that the expectancy on that particular road, in comparison to other roads with the number of people, houses on them, whatever, the expectancy of that first double chip seal should be 7 years.
He'll sign a contract to that effect?
What's that?
He'll sign a contract to that effect?
I don't
You'll
think
sign a
so.
contract, just like the state of Wisconsin DNR will sign a contract or send you a letter, or that the people from the Fed that come in and make a decision whether or not you have wetlands will even write you a letter. They won't even give you a word. They'll give you the finger.
I don't think the garbage trucks get that heavy. I mean, your pumpers are a whole lot heavier
Why
than
do
the
you
garbage
think we're
trucks
doing-
and
why
these
do you-
quad axle dump trucks like we're hauling in down here. I mean, they got a whole lot more weight on than, maybe not some of the.
Okay, so
big
we'll call
ones, you know.
in Tom Hardinger and we'll proceed from there to see what his recommendation is for that road.
That'll be fine.
Okay,
And then you'll bring that up, you'll put that on the agenda
for the next meeting,
for
yes.
the next meeting?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. One more thing, approve, disapprove landline for clerk's office.
Hang on. Okay, I need a landline in the office. Because half the time my phone doesn't ring in the office, and I cannot fax. The copy machine, everything that we got, can't even use the fax option on it because we don't have a landline. So,
He should be here.
You don't have a
Let's go.
landline? Who am I calling when I call whatever?
you call myself.
389 number?
Yeah, that's a cell number.
Yeah, if I get a phone call while I'm over there on my cell phone, I have to go outside,
Yeah.
because there's no reception.
This is it, 389-1338.
So we haven't had a landline in any of this?
In the last 2 years.
There.
Yes.
Because I see
You
from
get your
I-
last town clerk stated that she did not need one because she had the cell phone, so you removed it. So,
Right.
I mean,
We need a landline. We really do, just for being able to answer the phone in the office and getting that fax machine. I've already taken 2 faxes to my house to fax out, because we can't do it here.
I make a motion, we have a landline put in the clerk's office.
Second.
Are you
The
gonna
motion has been made and seconded.
get rid of that one?
No,
You're not gonna get rid of the cell?
No.
You're gonna have both?
yep.
Okay. So it's made and seconded, so now we can talk about it.
Okay.
Who did we have before?
Who did we have to, you're asking me questions I don't know. Who did we have for our landline?
Well, I'm
before?
sure it was Frontier.
Frontier.
That could very well be. Does Country Wireless have landlines? No.
I don't think so.
No.
So we've got a
Gotta find some.
representative.
But they're
I don't want to
stopping
speak on
on-
turn.
Here we go.
They're stopping on Cherry. Once they get the Carolyn, they're stopping.
But not necessarily. But in the grand scheme of things, if we had Frontier before, and we had Frontier at my house, and when Lisa started working on it also, we had to switch a charter because Frontier could not do fast enough internet.
Mhm.
They said it was gonna be 3 and we tested, and it was down to 1, whatever. I mean, I don't know the speeds.
I don't need the internet. I've got
Yeah, just.
Country Wireless right now. That seems to be okay since we got the router fixed.
Yeah.
Okay. What I need is a phone line.
Right, but in the big scheme of things, I'm looking at that package deal of everything, whether it's Frontier, Charter,
Mm-hmm.
Solaris,
Well,
if
you
you
can't
want
get
to.
charter out here.
I don't know.
You can't here.
Okay.
They're
No.
not always.
Doesn't come up this far.
No, it goes to Birch. That's it.
It ends at Debbie's house.
Yeah, it ends at my house.
It's a fine route, we can't run it.
back here.
The rest is the road.
So in the grand scheme of
Did they
things,
come in by your place, Joe? Or the
I
other,
got
from the other,
charter too.
from the other
I
way?
got charter too, I'm on.
so
Yeah,
in the
it's
grand
across
scheme
the
of
road.
things, with what you talked about and proposed before, possibly getting further into this area. And Wednesday night's meeting stuff will be discussed and brought up, and maybe we can get a better grasp on it.
Yeah.
And again, it wouldn't be immediately, it's not like it would
Well,
happen, so.
Yeah,
yes.
but I think what, right now, we need to get her a landline, and she
Right.
can use it, whether it's Frontier or
I mean, you can't even fax.
You really can't. I've been taking the faxes home and doing them at my house.
once you put it in, you aren't locked in here, when Solaris comes out and gives us a better deal, we can go with Solaris.
Yeah, the
Right.
wiring is already
I'm just
there.
looking at
But they're
future
not letting
state,
us-
this is
Well,
what
I
I'm
know,
doing
but
right now, and
I
it just,
Absolutely.
You wanna put something new in there.
Yeah.
Well, and asking your
I
guys'
don't
side
care.
would be
I
for
just
us to
want a
live
landline.
here, you know what I mean, to make that part of the grant project.
Years ago.
Well, there's a jack there, but you don't have a phone line.
All they
You
gotta do is
just-
connect you.
Yeah.
You have to find the thing outside and hook up the wire.
You know, I could probably do that. If I
They don't
have
even-
permission.
They flip a switch down at the office to do that now. I don't think they even come out and disconnect anything.
Roll call? Are we doing
Yes.
this? Okay. Joe,
Hi.
Dave,
all right,
Carolyn,
Aye.
Aye.
Gary, Kevin.
Okay, we need a motion.
I got one more thing quickly. I read through this pack that we got. Question is, did anybody get the information they requested out of this? Word?
Yes, I think so. The,
So that can go, no, I don't think so either.
do you mean the county people, the district attorney and what have you?
Did Dorothy or Clarence receive the information they requested?
I think so, no?
Okay.
So what did you not receive?
The county knows.
Huh?
The county knows.
The county knows, she said.
So,
That's my-
you're asking me? I have no clue. I have no clue. So, whatever.
Make the motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to adjourn.
Joe Beebe must be first.
Yeah. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I gotta go to the corner.
Okay.
To the corner.
Way out on the corner there.
9:39.
You go before you start paying? I go after.
How much extra work is it gonna be, or how much is it gonna check for this?
No, I don't think, I mean, I think the biggest thing is if we could get some support to be able to justify come here. I mean, again, the second level for the state is 25 minutes, so if you guys can't get nice little wire here, we can still consider this entire.
I'm glad I'm not on the board
The
of that.
map is saying that. So I think if we could do that, then it doesn't jeopardize the rest.
But obviously you must think that you're gonna run again.
Yeah, I know.
You just can't really go out before morning, does he?
No, but still gotta get up, I gotta prep. You don't just jump in and go, it's not like jumping in your car.
When's he want you to start? Oh.
Yeah.
As soon as the kids get home, they crash. And they crash.